सर इसमें दो हैं
एक असाइनमेंट हो रहा है शाम को उधर रशिया के
इनका है जामी साहब, he's ambassador Jami. So I have to buy a file. So file आपके पास है.
हाँ
We're starting.
Start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now commence with the third session of the Regional Dialogue 2025 titled Building Economic Bridges within Pakistan's Central Asia Connectivity. This joint session has been organized by me, myself, Hamza Rafat Hussain. I'm the head of the Central Asia program at the Institute of Regional Studies. And Mr. Syed Faraz Naqvi, who is the head of the Iran program at the Institute of Regional Studies. This session will feature eminent experts from Iran and Central Asian states who will shed light on potential transformations of regional, economic, and geopolitical dynamics. This will be done in trade, energy cooperation, infrastructure development, and strategic integration amongst Iran, Pakistan, and Central Asian states. To commence proceedings, I will invite the Honorable Session Chair, Senator Mushahid Hussain, Chairman of the Pakistan-China Institute, for his opening remarks. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first post-lunch session. I think you've had good food, and now, inshallah, we'll give you good food for thought, because we have thought leaders from Pakistan, from Iran, from Uzbekistan, from Kazakhstan, mashallah. And this conference session will be devoted to promoting regional connectivity, where the role of Pakistan, Iran, and Central Asia will be the focus. And this relationship is a very special and a very old relationship between Pakistan, Iran, and Central Asia. I had the great opportunity of visiting Central Asia in the Soviet Union days, 40 years ago, as a journalist, as editor of the Muslim in 1985. And I went to Uzbekistan, and I went to Tajikistan, and I went to Kazakhstan, and also Azerbaijan. And I remember visiting Bukhara in Uzbekistan and having kava in the main square of Bukhara, and it reminded me of Peshawar of those days. So there's this old cultural compatibility. And then I also visited this region just after their independence from the Soviet Union. And that was in October 1992. There was a conference in Uzbekistan, in Tashkent, and I, as a journalist, was there. And I was fortunate to have an interview with President Islam Karimov of Uzbekistan in October 1992. And I asked him this question. I said, sir, what is your vision of Uzbekistan's role in the region vis-a-vis countries like Pakistan and other countries? Because Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan had just achieved independence, apart from Azerbaijan, the breakup of the Soviet Union. And you know what he said? He said, my vision is that there should be a road built from Tashkent to Termez, going in south into Afghanistan, Mazar-e-Sharif, and going to Karachi. Because Karachi port is the nearest outlet to the sea for landlocked Central Asia. At that time, Gwadar did not exist. This is 1992. And that was the vision of Islam Karimov. And even today, when we talk of Central Asian countries, their connectivity is the shortest outlet for them to be land-linked to the sea, not landlocked, is via Gwadar. And from Iran, Excellency Jami, it's a pleasure to welcome you from the Islamic Jamhuriyat Iran. Your foreign minister is also here, Abbas Araghchi, and we are very grateful to Iran for their support and for their role in the current crisis. And it's also a pleasure to welcome you because Iran and Pakistan have had an old cultural compatibility, heritage and history, apart from being good neighbors. Iran was the first to recognize the emergence of Pakistan in 1947, and Pakistan was the first country to recognize the Islamic Revolution under Imam Khomeini in February 1979. So we have had this very close camaraderie and compatibility, and we'll now look at this relationship in the context of changes where regional connectivity driven by economy, energy, ports, pipelines, roads, and railways is a living reality through different initiatives, whether it's the Belt and Road, whether it's SCO, whether it's ECO. And we'll start with a very important keynote speaker, Mr. Asfar Ahsan. Mr. Asfar Ahsan is a man of ideas, a man of action. He is, I would probably say, the leading investment czar of Pakistan. Czar, I call him because he is a hands-on approach to investment, not in a theoretical context. And he was also Minister of State and Chairman of the Board of Investment. And he knows investors and investment from the Gulf countries and other foreign countries like the palm of his hand. Based on the track record of Pakistan and based on building a roadmap for the future and what are the impediments, what are the ground realities, and how do we go forth in building this regional connectivity where Pakistan is at the hub, surrounded by China, Central Asian republics, Iran, Afghanistan, and South Asia, and then we have the Gulf countries. So I think that we have to leverage our location and our role to build this regional connectivity. The opportunity is there, and we just have to seize it with the right initiative and the right approach. Over to you, Excellency. Thank you. Thank you, Mishai sir.
Like the India-Pakistan tense environment in the very hard time, the post-lunch speech is always very hard because I'm as a speaker also almost sleepy now. First of all, I'm grateful to the President, Ambassador Jawhar Salim, the IRC team, and all the organizing committee members for inviting me here today. I must compliment all of you for the initiation of this wonderful conference. I attended some of the sessions yesterday, and since morning I'm here and attended a few sessions. I must say that the dialogue, the overall content of the discussions, the keynote speakers, the panelists, the session chairs, this was really productive and commendable. I think that IRC people are the futurists also, because we were aware that what will be the scenario in this week between Pakistan and India. So thank you, Mishai Saab, for my brief introduction. You mentioned about to talk on Pakistan's investment landscape as well, the ground reality, the future roadmap. So I will try to cover my talk in three different parts. First is the data and the overall regional collaboration. And the second is the Pakistan's investment landscape. In the end, I will try to link all these points with the regional connectivity, collaboration, joint ventures, and the overall potential with challenges and what should be the roadmap of Pakistan. So as per the current census, our population size is 250 million now. And by 2047, when we will be 100 years old, we will cross 400 million. Out of the all population, our 65% population is under 30 years of age. And with the population of 250 million today, Pakistan is the world's fifth largest nation. Number one is India, and this is a shift from last year, not China. China is number second, Indonesia number third, US number fourth, and Pakistan number fifth. Pakistan is also an epicenter of 5 billion people in our surroundings, from Central Asia to Far East to Southeast Asia to China, India, Middle East, and Africa. So its strategic position is very important as far as the Pakistan is concerned. So observed in last 25 years that the growth in Asia and now in Middle East and Africa changed the entire paradigm of businesses as well as the trade and investment. The rise of China, the rise of India, the rise of some Middle Eastern countries, and the countries like Vietnam and also Indonesia, Malaysia, Turkey, now some of the African countries is an eye-opener. And it's a big opportunity, not only for Pakistan, but for the entire region. So this shift is an evidence that the future is Asia and the future is Africa. So this is my point one. The second, I will focus on the Pakistan's investment landscape, the business landscape, the overall economy, the fundamental issues, the barriers, challenges, the red tapes, and what should be the roadmap for Pakistan. And in the end, in the third part, I will connect again with the regional collaboration part. So as far as whether you talk about the hard facts, this is very difficult to share the hard facts sometime. But if I evaluate the last 37 years, so there are two parts of 37 years. One is from 1988 to 1999, where we experienced two governments each of PPP and PMLN, and three caretaker governments. From 1999 till today, we experienced one government each of PPP, PMLN, and PTI, one military-led government by General Musharraf, four caretaker governments, and also this is the second government of PDM, including Pakistan People's Party, PMLN, and multiple other parties, including PMLQ and MQM. In last 37 years, we attracted $58 billion net FDI. I'm talking about the net FDI after all the outflows. And this is the State Bank of Pakistan number. From 88 to 99, we attracted only $5 billion. Only $5 billion in 11 years. From 1999 till today, in last 25 years, we attracted $50 billion. So per annum is only $2 billion on average. From 1999 to 2008, we attracted $18.9 billion. From 8 to 13, during the PPP tenure, we attracted $9.8 billion. From 13 to 18, during the PMLN tenure, we attracted $10.3 billion. During the tenure of PTI of 3 years and 10 months, we attracted $7.7 billion. And then PDM-1 government, where we attracted $1.55 billion. During the caretaker government of Senator Kakar, he was here yesterday. For 5 months, we attracted $863 million. And in the last 1 year, we attracted around $1.63 billion. So this is on average or similar performance of every government as far as the collective number or FDI is concerned. This is on average $2 billion per annum since last 25 years. So this is the picture in black and white. The FDI scenario and the FDI formula is that any country's FDI should be the 3% of your GDP. So our GDP size is $376 billion. As per the GDP formula, our minimum FDI, net FDI should be around $11.5 billion. But we are continuously engaging the number of $2 billion. So this year we attracted around 1.6 something. So my forecast is that by the end of this year, in June 2025, our number will be around 2.1 to $2.2 billion. So there is no massive change except some percentage change, because the last year our number was $1.9 billion. And in 2022-23, our FDI number was $1.76 billion. So first we should understand the picture in black and white. And what we should is speak the truth. Like we are evaluating the balance sheet of our organizations. This is black or this is white. Without understanding the fundamentals and without creating the foundation, this is difficult to manage a country of 250 million, which is world's 5th largest nation. We are a classic example, and I'm talking about every government. And I want to share a disclaimer that I'm not representing any specific government. I am a pure Pakistani, I'm a technocrat, and I always talk about the state of Pakistan. So we are a classic example of ad hocism and the short-term plans. With a country of 250 million, we should understand, if we are talking about the economy, exports, IT, we are talking about the population growth, education, health, infrastructure, tourism, anything, any segment of our life or any sector of our economy. We should design the roadmap for next 20, 25 years. So there is an absence of a strategy in every sphere of our life. I'm talking about the national life. And there is no continuation also. So if we do the comparison with India, India was behind us till 1991. Their GDP was behind us, their corporations were behind us. What happened in the last 34 years? The corporations are global, they are one of the top economic powers. 50 global CEOs of MNCs are internationals. Two reasons. One is the continuation of governments, and second is the investment in their infrastructure of education. And this is not restricted to only IIMs and IITs of this world, but the overall education infrastructure they built in the last 60, 70 years. Here, we are investing very minor number as far as the investment is concerned. And in my opinion, the biggest threat to Pakistan is not the economy, not India. In the long term, the biggest threat to Pakistan is 28 million kids out of school. We are not providing them education, and we are not providing them vocational training, जिसे हम हुनर कहते हैं. And there are a few million people who are part of the public sector schools where they can only write their name after the matriculation. So this is the factual status. Around 40 million kids are with this status. So what we are expecting when the population will be double? Because there is no control of population growth in Pakistan. There is no plan. So we should raise this question, and this should be the emergency, this should be the priority. And I'm not talking about to provide education to everyone. The most important is the vocational training to everyone. Because as far as China is concerned, here is a big opportunity. I worked for this project actually. China's biggest problem today is the aging problem. There 200 million people are above 68 years of age. And when Pakistan will be 4 middle class, 400 plus population, million population, 40 crore population will be around 70 years of age. So there are 7, 8 areas where we can provide our human with 2, 3 years experience in the field of robotics, software development, agriculture, healthcare, and multiple other areas. But there is a need of plan, there is a need of strategy. So vocational training is a big area where we can utilize our potential. This youth bulge is huge. It's up to us how we can convert this youth bulge into our asset. Third, I want to do the comparison with other regional countries as far as the FDI is concerned. And here I will highlight that how regional connectivity and why regional connectivity is important for Pakistan. Not only with Central Asia, Iran, China, India, Far East, but also the Middle East. The growth of Middle East is phenomenal, and now that Africa as well. So for example, last year, 9 African countries, FDI was better than us. Egypt was around $9.67 billion. Ethiopia was $5 billion. Then countries like Mozambique, and others, the Nairobi, their performance were better than us. I mentioned about India. India's FDI last year was $49.6 billion. Vietnam was $36.47 billion. Indonesia was around $47 billion. Turkey was $12 billion. Malaysia was $11.5 billion. The United Arab Emirates was $30.7 billion. Qatar was $29 billion. Oman was $58 billion only last year. Saudi was $13 billion. China was $33 billion. China's numbers is less because their outflows are huge. They are investing globally. So $33 billion was the FDI number of China. And if we are talking about the Central Asian countries, the Kazakhstan number was above $18 billion. Uzbekistan was around $10 billion. Azerbaijan was around $7.7 billion. Bangladesh was around $4 billion. So I'm doing comparison because we should understand that despite all the huge potential, despite an epicenter of 5 billion people around the world, Pakistan, despite an excellent talent, excellent human resources, despite excellent location, why we are still here, that since last 25 years, our average FDI number is $1 billion. If I'm calculating the 37 years, from 88 till today, this is $1.5 billion. So there is a need of big rethinking about our system. The problem is within the system. We are passing the time. Our target is only next 1 year or 2 years. Impractical. Whatever we are talking, but trust me, our target, this is my learning. You may disagree with me. But we are practically working for next 6 months, 8 months, or 10 months, or sometime 3 months in every government. Because if this is not the case, why the numbers are telling the other story? I'm not referring the last 4 5 years numbers. I'm not sharing the last 10 years number. I'm sharing the last 37 years number. The story is same. This is all competing in Pakistan, and this is our FDI number. So, as I mentioned, that there is a need of big rethink about overall system, overall policies. And there is a need of political stability in this country. There is no political stability since last many decades. There is a need to engage every political stakeholder for the dialogue. If we really want to prosper for the sake of Pakistan, if we are really serious, uplift this country, if we are really serious to utilize this huge potential. ये huge potential कहने से आपको पैसे नहीं आएंगे. वो आयरन ब्रदर है, हिमालय से ऊंची दोस्ती है, शहद से मीठी दोस्ती है, ये काम नहीं आता. How much we attracted from China? Only $10 billion for the national FDI in the last 14 years. I'm not talking about the CPEC projects. I'm talking about the FDI as per the State Bank of Pakistan data. We are talking too much about the Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Arabia, my belief is, because I'm working very closely with the Saudi government, Riyadh is the most happening place to do in the world. The public investment fund size is over $1 trillion. By 2030, they will cross $2 trillion. 2030 Expo is happening there, 2034 World Cup is happening there. It is decided to be the superpower of every sector of the economy. It decided not to be the rich country anymore. The favorite leader is Mohammed bin Salman. How he transformed the country, how he empowered the women. Only Ministry of Industries and Ministry of Energy, the size of the women population is 35%. In all over, he empowered the women. They invested, not only Mohammed bin Salman, but the Saudi government invested in the last 20-25 years in education. If you are visiting the public sector of Saudi Arabia today, this is no more the royal family leading the ministries. This is the top talent of Saudi nationals leading the ministries, leading the public sector organizations. They invested in education. The graduates are coming from Ivy League universities, and now there is a rule since last 2 years that minimum 2 years experience outside Saudi Arabia for all these graduates after this scholarship is important. And they are returning to Saudi Arabia and they are serving their corporations. So this is the new phase of Saudi Arabia. Our strategic relationship is excellent. This is their requirement. Ambassador Gilani is here, Ambassador Johar is here, many senior persons are here. They all are aware that our strategic locations are excellent because we are their requirement. But as far as the business and economy is concerned, we are the losers. Saudi was my project when I was part of the government. And I'm still working in the same capacity, in my personal capacity, the same Saudi investment minister. They invested $21 billion in Uzbekistan, Ambassador Saab, in the last 5 years. $21 billion. And now they designed a package for $12 billion for the next 3 years. We attracted only $495 million, $500 million in the last 15 years from Saudi Arabia. Others are all subsidies and the support for petroleum and other things. Saudi aapko paisa nahi dega. You have to provide them the projects, bankable projects, the realistic projects, and you have to facilitate their existing investors. One of their biggest investors is my group, the owners of Electric in Karachi. For the last 20 years, they failed to take any investment amount from here. Now, Wafi Energy, the Al Sayad group, invested in Pakistan. They acquired the Shell operations. They invested their chairman last month here in Pakistan. They are planning to invest in 3-4 projects. But if their first project will be failed and they will be in trouble, they will never invest. So my suggestion is, and every forum I'm sharing this is building a narrative actually, but instead of looking towards FDI, Pakistan for the next 3 to 5 years should focus 90% or maybe 98% on the existing investors. Existing investors includes all the foreign investors already invested in Pakistan and all the Pakistani investors, the big boys, the mid-size and the small ones. If you are evaluating, I will take 3 minutes. If you are evaluating the top 10, 15 countries attracting FDI, and you can verify the data of last 20, 25 years, something is common. The existing investors created wealth. They are satisfied, they are confident, they are motivated. Only then they can do the joint ventures and FDI flow is natural. Only talking about FDI and the MOUs of $2.8 billion because there is no value of MOU in today's business world. Since last 2 years, we are talking about Saudi investment. There is no investment coming as far as the B2B is concerned. You can only finalize the Republic and others. But it's me, and I can guarantee you, I'm saying with complete responsibility, that till today, there is no B2B investment is finalized. This is not the criticism. This is the truth. We are avoiding to speak the truth because of our insecurities. Pakistan is first or individuals are first. So this is my message to focus on Pakistani investors, the foreign existing investors, plan a strategy in which everyone, all the concerned stakeholders, the next 20 to 25 years, for economy, for some big issues. बाकी आप बढ़ते हैं ना जो आपने करना है. So these are the challenges. There are many other points, but the time is short. In the end, I want to say that I highlighted the picture in black and white. And in the end, I want to show the 2 positive points also. State Bank of Pakistan started Russian digital account. You were in Uzbekistan during that time. The State Bank of Pakistan deposit number is $9.4 billion. This is not an investment scheme. These are the deposits of overseas Pakistanis. So hardly 15-20 overseas Pakistanis invested their 5% or 2%, not their entire wealth. But the wealth is $9.4 billion. As far as the official is concerned, $9.8 billion. Unofficial was $31 billion. So I'm not talking about the unofficial number. I'm talking about the official number, which is a declared property. I can refer 15, 16 more areas. So 9.4 and 9.8 is $19.2 billion. I have calculated it. आपको अपने घर का किबला काबा सही करना है, अपनी फाउंडेशन को सही करना है. जब तक फाउंडेशन सही नहीं होगी, because we are not a small European or African or Middle Eastern or Far Eastern country. We are world's 5th largest nation. That's why this data is important with everything related to Pakistan. Without this long-term plan, without fixing the problem, without establishing the solid foundation, we will continue these dialogues again and again. Since last 3 years, I'm talking the same. In the same hall in April seminar, I talk the same. 2 years, my talk is same, 100%, not 99%. People are listening also. We have no implementation. So this is the time for me for the sake of Pakistan. Pakistan, Zindabad.
Thank you very much. And you spoke with passion, conviction, and a track record of success and based on ground realities. And I think the focus on education, having a strategy, and also looking at 28 million out of school kids. I think that's extremely important. And I'd just like to give you some other mind-boggling figures on investment. 2 countries, UAE and Saudi Arabia, have promised President Trump that they will invest $2 trillion in the United States in the next 10 years. UAE $1.4 trillion and Saudi Arabia $600 billion. And these 2 countries, UAE and Saudi Arabia, have promised that Saudi Arabia will invest $100 billion in India in the next 10 years, and UAE will invest $75 billion in India in the next 10 years. So these are the figures. Thank you very much. Now we would like to welcome our distinguished guest from Iran, His Excellency Dr. Murtaza Damnepak Jami, a very experienced ambassador of Iran to different countries, who's also served as vice president of the main think tank in Tehran, IPIS. We warmly welcome you, sir, because you come from Iran, Islamic Republic of Iran, which is a brotherly country. Iqbal-e-Lahori is a common heritage. And like Pakistan, Iran too has faced and is facing sanctions, which are wrong. We reject those sanctions. And we hope that your recent talks with the United States through different Gulf countries will achieve success. And there will be an agreement, inshallah, hopefully, between Iran and the United States on the nuclear issue so that there can be enduring peace, security, and stability in the region. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Senator Mashhad Hussain, for your kind words and giving me the floor. At the outset, I would like to thank the Institute of Regional Studies for inviting me to attend this important and timely regional dialogue on behalf of IPIS and for organizing the session on Iran-Pakistan Central Asian connectivity and cooperation. The theme, Pathways to Peace and Prosperity in Turbulent Times, selected for this forum, is wise and thoughtful. In the last 60 to 70 decades, West Asia has been the scene of instability and unrest. It has been burning in the flames of war, aggression, occupation, foreign interference, terrorism, and religious and sectarian extremism. No other region in the world has been in such a high level of tension and bloodshed. However, this region has never experienced a period as turbulent and tumultuous as we have witnessed today. The savage war of the Zionist regime against the defenseless people of Gaza is the latest of this kind. But contrary to the destructive efforts of the stabilizing forces in the region, the point of departure from this chaotic situation is to listen to the forces of stability and peace. This is relevant to what I'm intending to elaborate in my presentation, which will focus on the Iranian neighborhood policy and its role in Eurasian connectivity. I will try to answer three questions. First, how important is the connectivity in the dynamics of global economy? Well, the fact is that in a transitional world order that faces a shift in power and wealth from the west to east and to the global south, parallel to the unending conflicts and competitions for power and influence, there is also a competition for building the foundation of future economic order between regional and global powers in various regions, especially in the Indian Ocean, South China Sea, Caspian Sea, Black Sea, Mediterranean, and the Persian Gulf. For various reasons, and considering recent developments in the geopolitical arena of these regions, including the war in Ukraine, tensions in the South Caucasus, the Israeli invasion of Gaza and Lebanon, and recent development in Syria and the Red Sea, the issue of connectivity between production supply centers and demand consumer markets has gained extraordinary importance. There is also another important development regarding the connectivity issue. With the increasing role of emerging economies in the global production and supply chains, the main passage of many corridors towards the West is mostly concentrated in West Asia and Eurasia. Another important assumption about connectivity is that the concept is not about transit and transport itself, since most of undergoing corridors are multidimensional that incorporate various infrastructure projects on the construction and modernization of ports, power plants, railways, fiber cables, pipelines, etc. So it seems that in a competitive and conflict-ridden environment, the power of connectivity to facilitate rapid and secure shipment of goods and energy resources to consuming markets has become a vital issue for major economic powers to reach their trading and development partners in different parts of these regions. This brings me to the second question: what role Iran can play to build economic bridges with Eurasia? Iran, Pakistan, and Central Asia share a common historical and cultural identity and have been trading along the historical Silk Roads for many centuries. The urgent need for the landlocked Central Asian republics after the collapse of the Soviet Union and independence of these countries to reach the regional and international markets brought all these countries plus Azerbaijan and Afghanistan alongside Iran, Pakistan, and Turkey to join Economic Cooperation Organization in the early 1990s. In addition, due to rising security concerns, some of these countries, namely Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, became members of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where China, Pakistan, and Iran are also members. While SCO has been successful to some extent in its regional security programs, ECO, being the main regional platform for economic cooperation on energy, transport, and trade as priority areas, has not been that much successful and did not achieve the expectations due to the lack of proper participation of its member states in regional projects, regional rivalries, and role of external factors. However, time has taught us that if you do not move further, the time machine will not wait for you. That's why I believe Iran and Pakistan should take the lead in ECO and in any other regional platform such as IORA, Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation, to realize opportunities for development of trade and cooperation on energy. As for Iran, due to its natural geographical location and being in the middle of two important waterways, namely Caspian Sea and the Persian Gulf, the country for many centuries has acted as a safe and fast connecting link in the crossroad of east and west of the world and has played an undeniable role in the prosperity and maintenance of the historical Silk Roads. In the post-Cold War era, Iran's route has become even more important, particularly for the landlocked Central Asian countries to access the global markets and for connecting the production and supply centers in the South Asia and the Indian Ocean to Eurasia and Europe. In line with this privileged situation, in the last 2-3 decades, Iran has entered various agreements on connectivity at bilateral and multilateral levels, including the International North-South Corridor, Chabahar International Corridor, KTI or Kazakhstan-Turkmenistan-Iran Corridor, which has already 2 connections at the borders, one in Inchbur and Gorgan and one in Sarax with Turkmenistan, as well as various ECO transit routes, which have been regional projects. The North-South Corridor, or INSTC, is one of the most promising geopolitical and geoeconomic opportunities for many countries in the region. The purpose of this project is to connect South Asia with the Middle East, the Caucasus, Central Asia, Russia, and Europe. 13 countries have joined this corridor so far, and once fully operationalized, it will reduce the shipment distance between Southern and Southeast Asia to Russia and Europe by at least 40%, and transportation costs by at least 30%. On the other hand, it is repeatedly argued by some regional or Western analysts that Chabahar Corridor, being the eastern segment of INSTC, is a rival to CPEC and a golden gateway for India to escape the so-called geopolitical suffocation on its land route to Europe. But the fact is that such argument is a mere propaganda, since The ISTC and Chabahar are both complementing the similar role that Gwadar could play in another direction, while both ports can become the means of extensive economic cooperation and connectivity among the regional countries, as well as their economic partners. From these brief explanations, it becomes clear that unlike some other parallel corridors, which may compete in each other, Iran and Pakistan are not involved in competing corridors. But let's consider this issue from another angle, whether connectivity can generate economic prosperity for all involving and participating countries rather than creating geopolitical rivalries. This brings me to the third and last question. How could the regional countries, especially Iran and Pakistan, make the issue of connectivity an instrument for building economic bridge? Well, Iran and Pakistan are two friendly neighboring countries, share cultural, religious, and historical commonalities, along with mutual security and strategic interests. They possess numerous capacities and incentives to enhance relations across all areas, particularly in the trade and energy sectors. Iran, with its rich oil and gas resources, making it to have 10% of world oil reserve and 18% of world gas reserves, enjoy economic complementarity in some areas. The two countries have therefore several advantages that can complement each other. Despite infrastructure challenges and tariff barriers, Iran-Pakistan trade relations have witnessed significant growth in recent years. The agreement to increase trade exchanges from the current 2.7 billion to 10 billion in 5 years, as agreed during the last year visit of the late President Raisi to Pakistan, is an attainable goal that requires creating the necessary platforms and effectively utilizing the existing capacities in both countries. More importantly, Iran and Pakistan, due to their long common border, enjoy the advantage of geographical proximity, which help reduce transportation costs and delivery time for goods. The existence of about 1,000-kilometer common border allows for connectivity through different routes. With the mere 76-kilometer distance between their two key ports in the Indian Ocean coast, namely Chabahar and Gwadar, creates the possibility for them to play a complementarity transit route in a framework of network of east-west and north-south corridors. Both ports are deep oceanic ports, and both could be a gateway to the open seas for the landlocked Central Asian countries, Afghanistan, and even Caucasus. The possibilities for cooperation between the two countries and other regional countries in a network of regional connectivity could be realized at least in 4 routes. First, Islamabad-Tehran-Istanbul corridor, or ITI, which is already a project of the Economic Cooperation Organization. This important corridor, as its name suggests, connects Islamabad to Tehran and Istanbul. It is a combined land route, road and rail, that has also been approved by the ECU, as I said, in 2009. The total length of this route is approximately 6,560 kilometers, which is a relatively short distance, almost 13 days. Compared to traditional sea routes, and as a result, it is considered an important transit route in the region. ITI could also serve the interests of other countries, including China and India, to facilitate their access to the European markets. 2, East-West Corridor, the historical route of the Silk Road. This corridor extends from east to west and connects various countries of East Asia and the Indian Ocean region through several branches via Iran to the Mediterranean region, the Black Sea, and Europe in the west. EWC is an important connecting access in West Asia that in one branch connects Pakistan railway network to Zahedan Kerman railway inside Iran. As we know, this is a 100-year-old railway that, if fully modernized and operationalized, it will establish the only possible rail connectivity between Europe and the subcontinent through Pakistan. EWC could also become a dynamic economic corridor that may include other areas of cooperation between Iran, Pakistan, and India, and that such as energy and gas pipeline, what is called the peace pipeline. An outstanding issue since more than 2 decades ago that has been overshadowed by political factors, unilateral sanctions, and geopolitical rivalries. But let me also add that this route from Pakistan to Iran, this railway, could also be called the pilgrimage route from Pakistan to Iraq, because it will be connected to the Iranian railway network. And by connecting the Iranian railway to Iraq through Basra, which is only less than 20 kilometers and it's being finished very soon, then Pakistan will be connected to Iraq, and this will be also a pilgrimage route as well. 3, Pakistan and Central Asian participation in INSTC. As said earlier, the INSTC is a multimodal route of 7,200 kilometers long, connecting South Asia via Iran to Russia, Caucasus, and Northern Europe. By shortening the traditional sea route between Asia and Europe to half, the INSTC is of great importance in global trade that increases the speed and volume of trade exchanges. As it is known, China Belt and Road Initiative is evaluated by many experts as a competitor to the INSTC. However, most countries, except India, joining the INSTC, those 13 countries that I didn't mention, are also participating in BRI. In other words, Pakistan's joining the CPAC does not prevent it from joining the INSTC, since, in theory, INSTC and BRI seem to be complementary corridors rather than competing routes. In line with the intention of Islamabad, Tehran, and Moscow to identify new opportunities for increased macroeconomic cooperation, Pakistan's desire to join the North-South corridor will mark a new chapter in its relations with Russia and the countries surrounding the corridor. China is also keen on expanding the transport routes associated with the CPAC to INSTC. On the other hand, the eastern route of this corridor, connecting Chabahar to Turkmenistan with some missing links to be completed, provides a unique opportunity to connect Iran's southern ports and Pakistan's Gwadar port to Central Asia and vice versa. And fourth route, fourth possibility is Iran's participation in CPAC. For Iran, cooperation between China and Pakistan within the framework of CPAC as part of BRI can be considered and evaluated from various perspectives. One pessimistic analysis evaluates this corridor in the context of weakening Iran's geopolitical position, while the optimistic approach believes that improvement of economic conditions of Iran neighboring countries like Pakistan will be a positive driving force both for expanding regional cooperation and for increasing regional security. On the other hand, Iran, China, and Pakistan have complementary economies, and CPAC should be a suitable trilateral cooperation framework for them to expand trade relations. Iran, with the large energy reserves in the region and the world, being on the one side of this corridor, can meet the needs of the other side, namely China, which is a major player in the international economy. In conclusion, I want to reemphasize that Iran and Pakistan, together with mutual trust, can take the lead in the strategic corridor competitions in the sea and the land, and divert it to a strategic partnership on trade and energy. The two countries could form a smaller union from among the countries bordering the Indian Ocean, Central and West Asia, over the Chabahar and Gwadar axis. For the realization of this project, Bandar Abbas should also be connected to Chabahar via railway and further to Gwadar to establish a network of key ports in the Persian Gulf and Indian Ocean. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ambassador Jami, for your remarks. Now we will move on to our second speaker, Ambassador Bolat Nurgaliev. He's going to be joining us online from Kazakhstan. Ambassador Bolat Nurgaliev is the chairman of the Foreign Policy Research Institute of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Kazakhstan. He will shed light on the topic interconnectivity in Central Asia and South Asia, opportunities and challenges. Ambassador Bolat, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Hamza, for your kind introduction. Assalamu alaikum, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm thankful to the Institute of Regional Studies in Islamabad for the invitation to join the Regional Dialogue 2025, Pathways to Peace and Prosperity in Turbulent Times. Indeed, building economic bridges arranging interconnectivity is an effective way to enhance regional peace, security, and stability, enhance trade, turnover, and energy cooperation. In the realm of multifaceted interaction of Central Asian states with their regional neighbors, of special significance is the implementation of transit, logistical, and energy projects, which are key to overcoming economic problems existing in all participating countries. For Central Asia, exploring opportunities for opening new trade routes in the southern direction is an unquestionable priority. At every international event, with their participation, one may hear about their pressing need to overcome problems stemming from being landlocked part of the world. That is why development of strategic partnership with neighbors that have access to sea communications is a matter of very pointed interest to the 5 Central Asian states. In this light, we are actively engaged in collaboration with the Russian Federation and the Islamic Republic of Iran on the international North-South transport corridor, with the People's Republic of China, the European Union, and regional partners on the Trans-Caspian International Transport route, and with our southern neighbors on opening access to promising markets of Central Asia and parts of in the Indian Ocean through the territory of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iran. Pursuing constructive relations with the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Islamic Republic of Pakistan occupies a special place in diplomatic conceptual documents of Kazakhstan and other Central Asian states. Recognition of our shared roots should be manifested through mutual support at the current stage of our coexistence in the same area as sovereign nations. Thus, we will be able to reconfirm our status as self-sufficient, sustainably developing states right in the heart of the Eurasian continent, capable of effectively responding to challenges of current trends to weaponize international trade. Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, from the early days of their independence, were keen to establish constructive interaction with our neighbors in South Asia and West Asia, putting a special emphasis on learning from their experience in conducting market economic reforms and overall performance as developing countries. We are grateful to Pakistan, Iran, and India for their assistance they rendered in training government officials and public sector representatives from Central Asian states in the early 90s to adjust their perceptions to new realities of market economy, good governance, dealing with different challenges in the field of poverty elimination, social injustice, urban and rural imbalances, demography, transport of water resources, fair distribution, and many other problems each newly independent state faced. This exchange was beneficial for promoting later on fruitful partnership of Central Asia and South Asia in diverse fields, including our interaction in strengthening the system of regional security, namely through the implementation of the initiative of Kazakhstan to set up the Conference on Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in Asia, in effective use of transport potential of the region, building up logistics infrastructure in trade for commodities, energy production, and so on. The South Asian direction of foreign policy efforts of Central Asian states is in total harmony with their multi-vector diplomacy, which implies aspiration to develop constructive cooperation with all partners located nearby or far away, as long as it produces a win-win outcome. Joining hands and investing in creating favorable conditions for long-term security and sustainable development will be able to make the best use of strategic location of our two regions and make the world fully appreciate our substantial and growing economic and trade potential, transit opportunities, and other comparative advantages. The diplomacy of Kazakhstan is our main achievements for our 33 years of independence are that we have resolved border issues with all our neighbors, that we do not have adversarial relations with any member of the UN family of civilized nations, no major disagreements, let alone conflict situations. And we are constantly calling on all conflicting parties to resolve issues among them in a peaceful, non-confrontational manner and avoid resorting to violence, let alone armed hostilities. The most effective way to protect national security interests and ultimately ensure the citizens' well-being is to conduct a rational, pragmatic, predictable multi-vector diplomacy based on balancing positive relations with all neighbors with equally positive ties with outside partners. And I'm happy to say that we enjoy such productive relations with the two countries that are the topic of today's session, namely Pakistan and Iran. Islamabad has worked out special document, Vision to Central Asia, with core directions in political, trade and investment, energy and communications, security and defense fields, as well as humanitarian ties. And we see certain compatibility of the Pakistani approach with the concept of the Chinese Strategic Belt and Road Initiative and the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Likewise, the vision, which was presented by Ambassador Murtaza Tamanpak Jami, the Iranian vision of future of the multifaceted relations with Central Asian republics, is fully corresponding with our perceptions. Among opportunities facilitating interconnectivity, I would like to mention a collective dimension gaining exceptional significance in Central Asia, that of emerging regionalism, which is a comparatively new element in our part of the world. In recent years, due to joint efforts, our region is undergoing a positive transformation, namely through substantial increase of cohesiveness of Central Asia. That the Central Asian Five are working out coordinated policy is very encouraging for the process under consideration in today's session. This coordination is arranged through annual consultative meetings of the heads of states of Central Asian republics. At the last one, the most recent, in Astana last August, we approved strategic vision Central Asia 2040, as well as several important documents on cooperation in transport, energy, industry, which envision involvement with neighboring countries. Kazakhstan established union relations with Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan, while relations with Turkmenistan are those of strategic partnership. We are actively coordinating our policies with the framework of such dialogue platforms as Central Asia Plus, namely Central Asia plus Russia, Central Asia plus China, Central Asia plus United States, European Union, Japan, South Korea, India, Gulf Cooperation Council. And I believe that at some point, depending on the intensity of political and economic cooperation, it might be expedient to set up such dialogue platforms of Central Asia with Pakistan and Iran. Talking about challenges, the biggest challenge to better logistics connectivity of our two regions is, of course, the difficult mountainous terrain of the areas where our official borders are at the closest point. That natural obstacle makes construction of highways, railroads, bridges, tunnels, etc., extremely costly and technologically complicated. Yet another challenge to address is how to arrange commercial viability of moving cargo, given long distance separating the would-be trading partners. Solution is not limiting connectivity to trade of goods alone. It should be about electricity grids, green hydrogen pipelines, data delivery pipelines, export of IT services. Huge question mark is over the problem of capital for financing large-scale logistics projects, which could be the source of billions of currency to sustain our collective efforts to ensure connectivity. I believe some infusion of money could be arranged through the development banking instruments belonging to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, of which Central Asian and most of South Asian countries are member states. And the challenge would be how to convince other partners of the SCO to agree to finance these infrastructure projects. Among geopolitical factors to consider is the multiplicity of available transportation routes, some of them bypassing Central Asia. For example, the India and Middle East Europe corridor, known as IMEC, and characterized by some as a rival to the BRI and the Trans-Caspian International Transport Corridor. Since connectivity is viewed by some major stakeholders as a venue for exerting regional influence, we should be vigilant in monitoring these developing trends. Among other challenges worthwhile mentioning is the necessity to involve Afghanistan, including by assisting the government there to be effective in running economy, attracting investment, and enhancing the capability to maintain appropriate level of security throughout the whole territory of the country, especially along the transit routes designated for interconnecting Central Asia with South Asia. Without satisfactory resolution of these issues, it would be difficult to expect large-scale investment in major projects. Nevertheless, according to the available information, the government in Kabul is open to regional cooperation on different transport corridors, with preference to one leading to the Iranian port of Chabahar, at the same point not excluding routes in other directions. As is known, the Afghan authorities are seeking support of neighbors in facilitation of their diplomatic recognition by the international community. Once the issue is resolved on the basis of the UN Charter and other norms of international law, I believe that involvement of Afghanistan in regional affairs through participation in the activities of such institutions as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Conference on Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in Asia, and the Economic Cooperation Organization, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, would serve the purpose of turning the country to a reliable partner. Kabul's engagement in regional efforts is to be pursued through the United Nations Regional Center for Sustainable Development in Central Asia and Afghanistan, to be set in Almaty according to the UN General Assembly resolution, which was adopted recently. We are sincerely thankful to all the partners, including Pakistan and Iran, for their strong support of the Kazakh initiative on establishment of this new center. I'm confident of its potential positive role. It's a long-term goal, of course, but worthwhile to pursue because the future of economic, trade, and investment climate, in fact, the effectiveness of our efforts to arrange appropriate connectivity in our region, depends to a large degree on the nature of relations of Afghanistan with the neighboring countries and our ability to assist in its achievement of goals of sustainable development. We sincerely wish speedy normalization of Afghan-Pakistani relations as the key factor for harmonious economic cooperation in our part of the world and facilitation of interconnectivity. The same is true for the normalization of the current stage of tension in the relations of Pakistan with India. The strengths that Central Asia can offer to its partners may be summed up in the following order. Communality of development goals. A combination of nomadic and settled ways of life produce not only the plurality of economic system of our region, it is predetermined formation of a unique political and legal culture, open set of values marked by a high degree of tolerance and resilience in confronting different challenges. That's why Central Asian countries played such an important role in the history of the Great Silk Road. And the big Eurasia, and it's part of the earlier pessimistic predictions about inevitability of failure states, occupied a respectful place in the international community, succeeded in protecting territorial integrity and political independence. Nowadays, there is discussion underway of parameters of emerging, renovating the national system. Both Central Asia and South Asia have strong potential to be influential participants in this process, provided we act collectively, join hands in this endeavor. All 5 Central Asian republics managed to resolve problematic issues which in the past were impediments to regional cooperation. Among them are rational, mutually beneficial solutions to the water and in the water and energy field, the limitation of state borders and improvement of performance border pass facilities, expansion of transportation linkage, introduction of new routes, facilitation of unhindered exchange of visits by citizens. All this in combination allowed us to work out pragmatic strategy of relations with foreign partners and stabilize balance between interstate and interregional interests. The Central Asian region, with a combined territory of 3.8 million square kilometers, population of 82 million people, joint GDP of $450 billion, 20% of world reserves of uranium, 17% of world reserves of crude oil, 7% of natural gas, trillions of dollars worth of deposit of critical minerals and rare earth metals, has a lot to offer for mutually beneficial cooperation. The same is true about the magnificent potential of the South Asia, of which our Pakistani and Iranian friends spoke so eloquently. And so we are, on our part, ready to do our share of efforts and have a win-win outcome. I'm very confident that this Regional Dialogue 2024-25 will open a new chapter in history of developing regional interconnectivity. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Ambassador Boga, for a comprehensive overview. Our last and final speaker is Honorable Ambassador Javlan Vakabov. He's the Managing Director of the International Institute for Central Asia in Tashkent in Uzbekistan. Ambassador Vakabov will be speaking on the topic opportunities for diversifying trade routes in Central Asia, Iran, and Pakistan's role in supporting these efforts. Ambassador Javlan, the floor is yours, sir.
It's wonderful to get back to Islamabad, but now over the screen. Distinguished Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to address this distinguished forum at a time when our region stands at a critical crossroads in its pursuit of sustainable connectivity and inclusive economic development. And I extend my sincere appreciation to the Institute of Regional Studies and Ambassador Jawhar Salim for convening this timely and strategically significant dialogue. And on behalf of the International Institute for Central Asia, I wish to underscore a central imperative for our region, the diversification of trade and transit routes through closer and more effective cooperation with our southern neighbors. And in this regard, we possess immense potential to serve as a vital bridge linking East and West, North and South. So yet, historically, our infrastructure and trade flows have been disproportionately oriented northward, so shaped by inherited infrastructure and limited alternatives. Today, a rapidly shifting realities marked by evolving security challenges, sanctions, and logistical vulnerabilities demands a fundamental rethinking of our connectivity strategies. In this context, a rapidly shifting realities marked by evolving security challenges, as I said before, and the diversification of trade corridors is not merely a policy option. Is a strategic necessity for building more resilient, sovereign, and future-ready economies. So allow me to highlight three key corridors that offer transformative potential to reconfigure the logistics landscape of Central Asia and unlock new economic horizons. So the first corridor is the North-South Transport Corridor, or also known as NSTC, which anchored through Iran, represents one of the most mature, cost-effective, and operationally viable multimodal trade routes available to Central Asian economies. Since 2016, the Trans-Iranian Railway, stretching from Saraks on the Turkmenistan border to the port of Bandar Abbas, has provided direct access to the Persian Gulf, re-establishing a long disrupted historical link. So with the near completion of the Saraks-Chabahar Railway and the continued expansion of Iran's road and rail networks, so the country is increasingly well positioned to function as a strategic multimodal hub, connecting Central Asia with key markets across the Gulf Cooperation Council. In this regard, the development of the Chabahar port, supported by international partners, is especially significant. It offers a reliable and resilient maritime outlet, independent of traditional choke points for Central Asian exports and imports. So these efforts are institutionalized through the Ashgabat Agreement, a multilateral platform involving Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, India, Pakistan, and Oman. So together with the NSTC, it forms the backbone of a southward logistics access and integrated gateway to India, the Gulf, and beyond. Moreover, Iran's highway network facilitates road transit from Saraks to Bandar Abbas or Chabahar in under 7 days. So a significant advantage for time-sensitive freight and perishable goods. The second, pretty well-known, the Trans-Afghan Corridor, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan. Perhaps the boldest and most transformational initiative currently under consideration is the Trans-Afghan Corridor, as I mentioned. So this proposed 573-kilometer railway connecting Termez to Mazar-e Sharif, Kabul, and ultimately Peshawar envisions a seamless land bridge between Central Asia and the Pakistani ports of Karachi and Gwadar. So this 7 billion project enjoys strong political backing from Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and I strongly believe Pakistan, and has attracted interest from stakeholders such as Russia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. The implementation of this project will reduce the cost of delivery almost threefold from $900 to $286, and the travel time from 35 to 35 days. Estimates also suggest it could reduce transportation costs to and from Indian Ocean ports by 30–40%, with annual freight volumes reaching 22 million tons by 2030 and 33 million tons by 2040. And Afghanistan is expected to handle over 20% of this cargo, bolstering its economic integration with the region. And we are fully aware of the operational risks, especially those related to security, regulatory harmonization, and institutional capacity. So yet we remain convinced that infrastructure must be seen as a precondition for peace, not merely its reward. Investing in regional connectivity through Afghanistan is a strategic decision, integrate rather than isolate. So importantly, we must not overlook the existing road networks that already underpin this corridor. The 2,800-kilometer Tashkent-Termez-Kabul-Peshawar-Karachi highway currently serves as the most cost-effective land route, with delivery times ranging from 7 to 10 days. In February, I had the opportunity to visit the port of Karachi. What I observed reaffirmed its vast potential, not only for Pakistan, but for the entire region. With these advanced container handling facilities, expansive storage capacity, and well-integrated inland transport networks, Karachi has the capacity to serve as a pivotal maritime gateway for Central Asia. Deepening connectivity with Karachi, via both the Trans-Afghan Transport Corridor and complementary rail links, will dramatically improve our access to global markets and reduce logistics costs. The 2024 trilateral agreement between Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, and the UAE to conduct a feasibility study marks a critical milestone. So once implemented, this corridor could reduce freight transit times between Central Asia and South Asia by 30 to 50%, and significantly lower transport costs, especially for bulk and industrial shipments. So beyond freight, this corridor holds potential for cross-border energy and electricity transmission infrastructure, laying the foundation for broader regional transformation. Third, the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan railway. So the CKU railway, launched in December 2024, connects Andijan, which is in Uzbekistan, to Kashgar, China, by Turagard Pass, Kyrgyzstan, spanning 523 kilometers. This railway serves as a strategic connector to the 46 billion China-Pakistan economic corridor, enhancing access to the Arabian Sea through Pakistan's deep sea ports. So this corridor complements, not completes, with the NSTC and Trans-Afghan routes. It intersects east-west and north-south flows, embedding Central Asia more deeply into Belt and Road trade dynamics. So once CKU railway reaches full operational capacity, it will offer a viable route for containerized and industrial freight headed to Chinese markets or onward to Southeast Asia. Parallel to the railway, an existing highway route runs Andijan, Osh, Turagard, Kashgar, Khunjerab, Rawalpindi, Karachi, totaling nearly 38.55 kilometers. However, the Hanjara Pass is mostly closed from November to March, making this corridor seasonally limited. But the seasonal vulnerability highlight the need for rail redundancy and weather-resilient infrastructure. So both the Trans-Afghan corridor and the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan will allow Central Asia to get access to South Asia with a population of 2 billion and total GDP $3.4 trillion. So for instance, bilateral trade has between our countries, between Uzbekistan and Pakistan, has grown from $36.5 million in 2017 to more than $400 million in 2024. So during the visit of Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif to Uzbekistan in February 2025, so our leaders agreed to increase these figures to $2 billion. Quite ambitious, but we believe doable objective to achieve in the nearest future. So despite the promise these corridors offer, so several systemic challenges must be addressed. So first, fragmented customs and border procedures. Solution: Central Asian countries, Iran and Pakistan must prioritize regional digital customs harmonization using platforms like the ETIR and ECMR systems, bilateral and trilateral memoranda on data sharing and mutual recognition of standards are essential. Second, security and risk perception, especially in Afghanistan. So multilateral risk insurance mechanisms backed by institutions such as the Islamic Development Bank, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, or World Bank's MIGA can lower investment barriers. Simultaneously, stakeholder states should establish joint corridor security task forces in collaboration with local communities. So third, weak infrastructure maintenance and financing gaps. Launch targeted public-private infrastructure investment funds with blended finance models that combine state support, sovereign wealth fund capital, and venture-backed logistics startups. Engage the Gulf Cooperation Council and ASEAN as financial partners. Fourth, absence of coordinated corridor governance. Establishing corridor coordination councils under rotating leadership modeled on ASEAN's institutional frameworks is crucial. So these would oversee technical harmonization, investment promotion, dispute resolution, and emergency response coordination. So ladies and gentlemen, at the International Institute for Central Asia, which I represent, we are committed to fostering dialogue, advancing research, and building partnerships that transform connectivity into cooperation, and cooperation into shared prosperity. Iran and Pakistan are not merely neighbors, they are indispensable partners in our regional integration efforts. Each offers unique gateways, complementary strength, and shared aspirations. However, infrastructure alone is not enough. For these corridors to become operational and impactful, we need to pursue policy harmonization, streamline customs procedures, establish risk insurance mechanisms, and foster public-private partnerships across borders. So we call on our counterparts in regional and global institutions, as well as our partners in the private sector, to support these initiatives, not only as transportation projects, but as strategic platforms for peace, resilience, and inclusive development. Together, let us chart a course toward the more connected, competitive, and cooperative Eurasia. Thank you.
Thank you, Master Javlan Vakabad. We'll now move on to the Q&A session. Fashad Hussain Saab, you will moderate.
Thank you very much, Excellencies in Astana and Tashkent respectively. Ambassador Bolat and Ambassador Javlon. I think very specific suggestions have come from both sides in Central Asia online, and especially from Kazakhstan, we heard about establishing platforms for cooperation between Central Asia and Iran and Pakistan respectively. And I know that there is this platform which is now called China Central Asia Cooperation. It started in 2023. The first summit was held in Xi'an, where the Silk Road started. And the next summit is taking place this year in Dushanbe in Tajikistan. And I believe the trade between China and Central Asia is now approximately $70 billion. And also there was suggestions coming from Uzbekistan about rail routes and other connectivity. And we know that Pakistan, Uzbekistan, and Afghanistan are already focusing on that. And you talked of Andijan and Kashgar being linked together. So a lot of initiatives. We have a number of questions. First of all, three kinds of questions have been asked. Number one, Aswar Sahab, aapse. Basically that we're talking of, you are an expert on investment from Arab countries, Gulf countries, and Gulf countries are investing big time in Uzbekistan in Central Asia. They are investing big time in, especially also in India as well. Do we expect that this kind of cooperation between Pakistan and Central Asia and Iran, given the fact that there is an Iran-Saudi rapprochement brokered by China in 2023, what kind of projects or connectivity initiatives can we expect between Iran and Central Asia and Pakistan, where funding can possibly come from Saudi Arabia or the Gulf Arab countries? Number one, for you, sir. And Ambassador Dr. Jami, Dr. Murtaza Jami, you gave a very interesting proposal, and I think it's a very doable one, that Iran joining CPEC. Because Iran has also a strategic cooperation agreement with China, and Pakistan is also a strategic partner of China, and Pakistan-Iran relations are quite good. In the absence of lifting of sanctions, apart from CPEC, what other initiatives can Iran and Pakistan take together with Central Asia? And for our Central Asian friends, there are questions that say that relations between Central Asia and Pakistan, and sometimes Iran also, are linked to this situation of stability or lack of it in Afghanistan. So do you have any initiatives or proposals on that? And I'd really like to have your feedback. One question was asked from myself, that in the absence of good relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan, how can we connect with Central Asia? Because it has to go through Afghanistan. Actually, you know that there are two ways. Of course, Afghanistan is one of them. The other one is China. Pakistan is linked with China through Xinjiang province, which borders Pakistan, and Xinjiang province has borders with Central Asian countries. And we already have agreements, the quadripartite agreement of Pakistan, China, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. So that route can also be used effectively. And one other initiative, I think, that is still being talked about, and I think it has tremendous potential, is, and that of course is also linked with Pakistan-Afghanistan relations, which are now being improved, is the 4 countries focusing on the Wakhan corridor, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and China, where there can be that cooperation. So I think China would be key in that initiative. Thank you very much, and I expect answers from the distinguished panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Mishai sir. You mentioned about the Saudi Arabia, I already covered in detail. And I want to link this again with the last 37 years number, the average FDI numbers of Korea, and the need of fixing the foundation before talking about FDI. So as Saudi Arabia is investing all over, I mentioned about the numbers of Uzbekistan, $21 billion only in last 5 years, and they invested only $490 million in Pakistan in the last 15 years as FDI is concerned, net FDI. So we need to fix our house in order. We need to fix the foundation. We need to address the concerns, the issues, the barriers, the red tapes of our existing investors, including all the foreign investors, all the local investors. Without fixing this foundation, any project related to Central Asia or any other country, I'm not expecting any FDI, because first you have to facilitate your existing investors. Khurram bhai, in last 37 years, we attracted only $58 billion as the net FDI. In the last 25 years, we attracted $50 billion. This is per annum $2 billion. So how can we are expecting the FDI numbers from Saudi Arabia or UAE or any other country? So we need to fix our house in order. We need to facilitate the existing investors. Otherwise, we will continue the same stories of $2.1, $2.2 billion in the next 10 years also.
Well, Iran, Pakistan, and Central Asian countries belong to one geographical region. They have geographical continuity. So in this single region, there are many potentials for cooperation. As I said, all these countries have joined in 1990s an expanded economic cooperation organization, which has identified many regional projects. If duly implemented and participated by all countries, including Iran, Pakistan, and Central Asian republics, there are huge capacities for infrastructural projects as well as trade expansion. One example is a quota, the trade agreement, which envisaged for the establishment of a free trade area, actually and initially by 2015, then expanded to 2025 within the vision. But only Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Turkey, and Tajikistan, these countries out of 10 member countries have joined this agreement, and even with these 5-6 countries, still there are many impediments for the implementation of these agreements. So it's not a matter of sanction or without sanction. I mean, sanction shouldn't be an excuse for regional countries to have to enter into economic cooperation in various areas. But without sanction, for sure, there would be also huge potentials for cooperation. Trade, energy, and transport and transit are the main priority areas that the Economic Cooperation Organization set as priority areas in Ecovision. But outside the scope of the Economic Cooperation Organization, there are also the many potentials, as explained by friends from the Central Asian countries. The landlocked countries in Central Asia needs to have access to international markets, to the Persian Gulf markets, to the South Indian Ocean, South Asian markets. So Afghanistan, Pakistan route, as well as Iran's ISTC and Chabahar route are the best route for them to have the quick access and safe access to these markets. So we need to enter actual cooperation. We need to finalize and wrap up with the missing links. As mentioned, there is a missing link in order to connect Chabahar to Sarax. Central Asian countries are already connected to Iran via the main route to Bandar Abbas, via Sarax. But if Chabahar-Sarax route railway would be finalized, which is waiting for another 700 kilometers to be which needs investment, then there would be less time required for these countries, only 24 hours from Sarax to reach Chabahar. So you see a lot of saving in terms of time and money for these countries, and for the transit countries, Iran, Pakistan joining this corridor, as I said. So all these potentialities require the actual participation of the countries, but also trying to attract the investment of potential development partners. As far as I know, attending a seminar with Japanese are very interested in investment in ISTC. So these things should be realized, and I think there are possibilities for the participation of developed partners as well in these projects. Thank you.
Yes, our friends, if they are still online from Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, we'd like to have briefly your final word on this issue. Thank you. Yes, sir. Proceed.
Thank you, Senator Said. The question about Afghanistan, its involvement in the connectivity between Central Asia and South Asia is, of course, there are ways to for other routes which will not be including Afghanistan. But for the sake of regional security and the eventual prosperity, I believe the inclusiveness should be involving Afghanistan as well. Because, as I said, the role of Afghanistan is essential, and the stability in our region is a necessary requirement for attracting investment in large-scale and costly projects. That's why it is in the vested interest of all 5 Central Asian republics, I believe other partners, to help the authorities in Afghanistan to arrange eventually the diplomatic recognition and become a normal member of the international community.
Thank you, Excellency. The other comment from our friend in Uzbekistan?
In fact, I can't disagree with my fellow ambassador from Kazakhstan. Indeed, Afghanistan, a country which is considered by the Uzbekistan leadership as an integral part of Central Asia. Certainly, this country should be a part of these processes towards unlocking not only Uzbekistan, but the whole region of Central Asia. So in these terms, we perceive Afghanistan at this moment mostly as a strategic opportunity, which I believe both Central Asia and South Asia might benefit from. So in this regard, so the only way to bring a long-lasting peace, stability, and prosperity to Afghanistan is going through connectivity. So, and our approach towards Afghanistan nowadays is quite simple and clear. Stability through connectivity. This is a motto which Uzbekistan foreign policy approaches are based on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to inform our guests who are online in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan that both your countries are very close to the heart of 250 million Pakistanis. The decision of Pakistan to go nuclear was taken in Almaty on 11th of May, 1998, when Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was there, and we heard the news, and I was there accompanying him as Minister for Information. And it was there and then it was decided that we will go nuclear. So there is a special attachment of as a Kazakhstan to Pakistan security. And as far as Uzbekistan is concerned, Excellency, Tashkent, Samarkand, Bukhara, Termez, Andijan, you are the origins of the Mughal Empire, which has left an imprint on the region historically, culturally, and in terms of religion also. So we have a special bonding and a relationship with you. Thank you so much for being online. And I'd like to mention that before I conclude that this has been an amazing session where tremendous ideas and initiatives have emerged for regional connectivity. And I think a new world is opening up there. We didn't talk about TAPI, the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India pipeline. And I agree, the time has come to take the Iran-Pakistan pipeline forward. The cost will be 40% less in terms of energy. And I think that they say every challenge is every opportunity is also an opportunity. This current crisis with India, where India tried to bully and browbeat Pakistan and failed, I think it also shows that Pakistan's core interests are linked with this region. And countries like China, Russia, Central Asia, Iran, and Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia, and UAE, who have also supported us, and Turkey also. So we feel that this connectivity and different initiatives need to be taken to take it forward. And I feel that in the next 5 to 10 years, 5 Muslim middle powers have the opportunity to be major players in their respective regions: Pakistan, Iran, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia. And I feel also that other countries can play that role. We feel that China-Pakistan economic corridor is the way forward, and Pakistan, for its part, also needs to have a regional reset in foreign policy. Our Afghanistan policy, which was there for a long time, has failed. We have to have a regional reset, better relations with Afghanistan, with more open borders, and similarly with Iran also, the border markets that were agreed upon last year, they have to be playing a pivotal role. Inshallah, we'll build a better tomorrow in the region with all the countries cooperating, a better tomorrow with no overlords and no underdogs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Session Chair. I know there's an all-awaited India session, which is coming right after this one. So we would like to wrap up all formalities. I would request the Session Chair to please give shields to our respective panelists. Yeah. Now I'd like to request the President of the IRS, Ambassador Johar Salim, to come on stage and give a shield to our Session Chair, Senator Musharraf Hussain. India session. Now I'd like to request the entire IRS team to come on stage for a photo. A group photo. Please, the IRS team.
Already conveyed. हमने भी जाना
Thank you, everyone. Stay tuned. The India session is next. So we request your patience.
So another excellent session has come to an end. I'd like to thank Senator Musharraf Hussain Saeed for conducting the session most elegantly and eloquently.
and all the other speakers as well. Now, the last session for today will be the session on India-Pakistan relations. So please invite all the speakers.
Ladies and gentlemen, please settle down. Our next section is about to begin. Esteemed panelists, guests, scholars, and participants, Assalamu alaikum and good evening. On behalf of the India program at the Institute of Regional Studies, I welcome you all here. Now we begin the 7th session of our regional dialogue, titled as Pakistan-India Relations, Exploring Impediments to Peace and Prosperity. Let me introduce the panel. Former High Commissioner of Pakistan to India, Ambassador Abdul Basir will chair the session. Former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan, Mr. Khurram Dastagir Khan. We have with us former Federal Minister, Senator Jabbar. And we have with us a well-known journalist and anchor person, Mr. Hamid Mir. And we have another renowned journalist, Ms. Arifa Noor. To each of you, thank you for gracing this platform. Without further ado, let us begin the conversation. Chair of the session, I now hand over the floor to guide this distinguished panel. Please, sir, further proceed.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you very much. It's a great honor and privilege for me to be chairing this very important session. As things currently are between Pakistan and India, this session obviously assumes much more importance as the dark clouds of conflict looming large. It is important for us to understand the dynamics between Pakistan and India. How things may pan out, we do not know. But I hope that our discussion today at this session would throw up some new ideas. I'm saying so because this panel, as you can all see, is of people who are sitting left and right. They're all well-known people, two former ministers. We have a renowned journalist, Mr. Hamid Mir. Then we have another well-known journalist, Arifa Noor. So I'm sure that today we are going to get their insights and we will benefit from their perspicacity because and the topic given to us by Ambassador Johar Salim is Pakistan-India relations, exploring impediments to peace and connectivity. I hope that rather than repeating the well-known rhetoric or well-known talking points, we would rather focus on what really are the impediments to getting Pakistan relations on a trajectory that leads to a normal relationship, real impediments on our side and on the Indian side, and how to address those impediments. And then obviously, when we talk about connectivity, you cannot, as I, being, be part of the Foreign Service of Pakistan for over 35 years, I have come to this conclusion that when we talk about regional connectivity, economic cooperation, I have a strong view that you cannot build regional cooperative frameworks on unpredictable and rickety bilateral relations. In order to have regional cooperation, regional cooperative frameworks, you need to have some kind of, a normal relationship, which is definitely missing in South Asia. That's why South Asia remains the least integrated region in the world. So without, I do not wish to take more time. So let's, let me ask our esteemed panelists one by one to give their views on specific areas. I would begin by asking Ms. Arshad Noor, because she has to leave at around 5:30. She has another commitment. And she will speak on war of narratives, media's role in Indo-Pak tensions. Though I fully understand her dilemma, and because the way things are at present, we're talking about building of narratives. But in any case, I'm sure, Arpa, you will definitely do justice with the subject. So over to you.
Thank you, sir. This is a very tough one, I have to admit, as a journalist, to talk at a time when there is neither peace nor prosperity and much turbulent times that we're going through within the country and obviously now with India. But luckily, I can focus on my own field of the media. I think in Pakistan, if I look at the media landscape and I look at the way we address India, it's rather unfortunate that I feel that we have a lot of tactics at play, but no strategy. If you look at the Indian media, and let me make it very clear that I don't think that's much of a media landscape that we either need to aspire to, or it has much to offer. But obviously, at some level, it feels as if there is a view in Pakistan that we need to match it. And each time there is a crisis between India and Pakistan, you will hear more than one person in Pakistan bemoan the lack of an English language channel, complain about the kind of excessive rhetoric that you hear on Indian channels, and then also talk about the need to match it. This is all tactical, because the moment that crisis is over, nobody remembers that we don't have an English language channel. Nobody in those relatively quiet times figures out why we don't have that channel and India has so many. And there is also no clarity in terms of the policy that the state has towards India. Let me explain. So not that I'm an expert on India, we just don't have that kind of access, but the Indian media landscape, especially on the English language channels, there is a method to their madness. Obviously, that anti-Pakistan rhetoric is linked to the anti-Muslim rhetoric. And that is the kind of emotion that they're whipping up. So come a crisis with Pakistan, the audience is there, and so are the platforms, because they're already doing that day in and day out. But the question here is, what do we need to do in terms of a strategy which will suit us during the relatively quiet times, and then also when there is a crisis at hand? Do we want that kind of a policy towards India, where we are, demonizing the prime minister or that country? Do we want to sustain that all the time? Because if we do, then what will happen to our stand that we want a better relationship with India, but the impediment is India itself. So I think these are questions that we have not answered at all. And then we also have to understand that the Indian media works, it's created an entire ecosystem in which these channels work, in which these channels or the media has the tone that it does towards Pakistan. We don't. And that is why you will never hear an Indian cabinet minister talk about or praising the Indian media for giving a very good reply, so to speak, to the Pakistani side. They don't need to. It works, or it appears to work organically. When our governments praise the Pakistani media for being able to match the Indian rhetoric, the message that we are sending is that it's orchestrated. It was a request that went, the request was understood, and then something happened. Therefore, it needs to be praised. Therefore, it needs to be, acknowledged. I think this is very problematic. And to me, this again goes back to that point of we do not have a strategy. We're looking at India and we're reacting to what they're doing. So these are some of the issues I think we really need to address. And we also then need to understand what we're doing as the media in Pakistan, which tends to be unfortunately very insular. If you look at journalism around the world, there is a healthy interest that journalists, media houses take in foreign policy in other countries. We have none of that. We spent 364 days a year talking about Pakistan and the same high politics of Islamabad day in and day out. And when suddenly there's a crisis, it could be in Bangladesh, it could be in India, and people really have no clue how foreign policy works, how the international community works, then suddenly switch gears and they become the experts on foreign policy. We don't have anybody who understands what the electoral politics of India is. We don't have anybody who understands Bangladesh as such, and everybody's commenting. Again, unless you have a strategy, you will not develop this expertise overnight. We have to get over our insularity as a country, especially as the electronic media, and then keep working at these issues during the entire year. So when the time is appropriate, you have the people. And it shows. It shows because we have no nuance in our media industry, which is why it pains me to see Karan Thapar being in a position to interview Najam Sethi or Moeed Yusuf. But we don't have any channel, we don't have any platform in Pakistan where we could interview, for example, the critics of the Indian government from India at the moment. Where are those voices? Why don't we hear them here? We just don't have the space, we don't have the understanding, we don't have the nuance. They have defense analysts, they have opposition politicians. We get to hear what they're saying. We get to hear what there are people who've been saying that, India cannot carry out an attack, but we have no platform on which we can talk to these people. This is partly, our failure. Our failure as a society, as media. We need to, if we want to address or we want to compete with our enemy, you first have to understand them. Our understanding is completely missing, and I say this as a journalist. The government can decide for itself whether it has that understanding. But till we address these issues, we really cannot talk about peace or prosperity or the turbulent times because we have no nuance.
Thank you very much, Arthur. That was rather very crisp and great. I fully agree with you that there are issues in Pakistan and how to build a narrative is not, like when it's a process. It takes its own time. So perhaps we can address this issue in the question answer session. Let me now request Mr. Khurram Dastagir Saab, former Foreign Minister of Pakistan, also Minister of Water and Power, a very active senior member of the present PMLN, and he would obviously give us an overarching view of Indo-Pak conflict and challenges to connectivity. The floor is yours, sir. You can go there, sir.
My thanks to Ambassador Jawhar Salim for this invitation, which after the invitation has become, as the French say, rather piquant, has become very topical and spicy topic of dialogue and deliberation. So I'll begin with what has now become a cliche, this famous quote from the Italian Marxist philosopher Antonio Gramsci, who said, "The old world is dying and the new world struggles to be born. What most people do not quote is the continuation of the sentence. It says, now is the time of monsters. So the whole sentence goes, I'll reread it. The old world is dying and the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters. And what we are facing in many ways is the end of the post-World War II order. This set of international institutions and agreements, principally guided by the United States and its allies, on international rules on economics, commerce, on warfare. So we have the United Nations, we had WTO, the two most prominent. But that order is, if hasn't already crumbled, it is crumbling in front of our eyes. Maybe it's because of the loss of nerve of the United States after its massive losses in the 21st century in Iraq and Afghanistan. But the order is crumbling. And when the order crumbles, there is inevitably chaos. And the world is returning in many ways to the old, what we used to, was just a topic of historical interest, spheres of influence. Used to be in the 19th century, early 20th century. But that's where we are, that the world is returning to these spheres of influence, which will slowly take shape in front of our eyes. So it's in this chaos, we find this Pahalgam incident that happens. And once again, वो सारी पुरानी कहानी जो है, वो दोबारा खुल गई. Or, the whole order was repeated again. I don't want to go into the particulars of the Pahalgam incident, but the truth is within an hour of the incident, the Indian media going all gung-ho and guns blazing on blaming Pakistan for the incident tells you something. And but what happened there? First, the Indian government's sort of, initiative of blaming Pakistan. What we have seen now, a little bit of historical passage here, is that India has been trying, particularly since 2014, when Narendra Modi and BJP came into power, to coerce Pakistan. So the coercion initiative is there. And how they have tried to coerce Pakistan. They have tried 5 ways. They have tried incursion, which they claimed in 2016, so-called that ghost surgical strike. They said, we actually sent people inside Pakistani territory. They have tried airstrikes in 2019. We know how that turned out. But they have also tried in recent years covert assassination campaign in Pakistan, which is now in some dozens, if not more. They have also tried, of course, have been trying for many years to not only in multilateral forums of just being against Pakistan, but in the Financial Action Task Force application filed by the US in February 18, India was a prominent cheerleader of that application. And their foreign minister is on record saying that we are part of it and we heard Pakistan through. So this kind of hostile diplomacy, particularly which now we are seeing again being repeated. So India has, and of course, there's also this issue of the fifth tactic that they have used for a long time, but again has come to the fore, of terrorism inside Pakistan, fomenting terrorism, financing terrorism in Pakistan, whether it be in Balochistan or in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What changed this time is that what they had previously just threatened verbally, they have gone ahead and added a sixth angle to their coercion attack, which is water. So they've added now the Indus Waters Treaty to their arsenal of attacking Pakistan, and which of course is very troubling and requires more thought. But the question I think we all need to ask is, and maybe there are a lot of very wise and experienced people in this room who can answer this question much better than I can, is what is India's political objective in all this? What do they want from Pakistan? Or is it just a anti-Muslim, anti-Pakistan initiative? Could just to hurt Pakistan? Is that the purpose? Is that what they want? Or whatever the coercion they're up to is maybe Basit Saab or other people can answer better. Do they just want Pakistan to accept Indian hegemony? Do they just want to for Pakistan to be an obedient neighbor to them and not to give them any trouble anywhere, whatever they do decide to do? Because, ladies and gentlemen, there of course has to be a difference between the political objective of the war and the small battles that we fight. So one side or the other can win battles, but the ultimate decision or the ultimate conclusion should be and ought to be whether that state was able to achieve whatever political objective it set for itself. And so the question is, what does India want? And I have no real answer to it. I think I said I leave it to others and maybe to the question answer censors to find out what does India really want and what its political objective is. So here is India, which has been trying for 11 years now, a policy of coercion. As I said, it has used 6 tactics. Now water has been added to it. And what does Pakistan do? I think Pakistan too tried something in between 2018 and 22, which some people would call restraint. I call it a more piquant word, appeasement. There is a whole list of events where Pakistan could say, could have made an effort. I mean, one of the events that I'm witness to, in 2018, the first ever United Nations Human Rights Report on Kashmir came out. Something that Pakistan has been trying for the longest time for UN to do. So the report actually comes out. It has a lot of material, of course, on how the Indian armed forces have suppressed, repressed, murdered, raped Kashmiris in occupied Kashmir. But Pakistan does very little with it. And it just goes by. And actually, a second report also came out in 19, but it also went by. Does nothing. Instead, Pakistan starts, which is, of course, a valuable initiative, Kartarpur. So at the same time, the report comes out, we start Kartarpur and say, we want peace, we want to go ahead. But, ladies and gentlemen, I would put in front of you that the 2019 Balakot incident and, to my mind, the indecent haste with which Flight Lieutenant Abhinandan was returned, without a quid pro quo. Maybe people who know better about can tell us why that happened, but it was rather precipitate. Now I can say this, that we who were in opposition at the time in the National Assembly, we were asked that this is going to happen and please don't raise a fuss about it. And we didn't. But the question remains that why, only 58 hours and without any obvious or visible quid pro quo from the Indian side or through Wagah. So that the question remains. But the biggest question that still rankles in my mind and should rankle in your mind if you think about it, is Pakistan's response to India's annexation of occupied Kashmir in 5th of August 2019. What happened there? I mean, India literally smashed a principal pillar of our foreign policy. And what do we do? Again, I won't presume to have answers of what we should have done, but we did nothing. And of course, we were at that time unable to garner any support from any multilateral forum, any serious substantive support from it. In order to say, no, Kashmir is still a disputed subject. It's on the active list of UN Security Council. How could that happen? How could you annex? But that went by also. Fine. But then we see that there was this, in the summer of 2020, a clash between China and India on the heights of Ladakh. And China dealt a severe blow. I think India has still to recover from it. We do nothing. We exercised restraint. We failed to take any strategic advantage of that debacle for India. Okay? But then we find out 7 months later that the government that had claimed that we will not speak to India unless it reverses its policy on Kashmir goes ahead and agrees to a ceasefire on LOC. A good thing. But what happened to Pakistan's policy of not speaking to India in any form until India reversed its policy in Kashmir? Okay, so February 21, that happens too. In March 2022, a BrahMos missile lands in Mia Chandu. And we do nothing again. What is going on? Is it restraint? Is it our inability to respond to India in any serious diplomatic manner? Are we convinced of our own weaknesses? What is going on here? So yes, now I'm heartened when I hear the word quid pro quo plus. Although it is a dangerous slope that we are on. That if we are now saying, and not just, I hope that the quid pro quo plus will not be in the kinetic realm, but in the diplomatic realm, in the information realm. That's where we need to be plus, because that's where we have been lacking. And also this notion, this difficult and inconvenient truth, that Modi has consistently done what he said. In 2014, he said he will punish Pakistan. In his view, he punished Pakistan. In 2016, through the strike. In 2019 elections, he said he will take over AJK. He did that. Now he's saying take over occupied Kashmir. Now he said in the last election that he will take up AJK. So we should be worried. The reason we should be worried is that many Indian analysts deem the Indus Waters Treaty to be part of India's Kashmir policy. They both are like inextricably linked, the both policies. So it is a serious, not just for the livelihoods and survival of Pakistan's 250 million people, the Indus Waters Treaty. It has a connection to Kashmir, which we should be worried about. And another thing that has happened is that when I came into Parliament, there was, and still is, a considerable peace lobby in this country. Who, I mean, all political parties in Pakistan, to their credit, have never used India as a vote-getting tactic in elections. 2008, 2013, 2018, now 2024. India is not a Pakistan subject. But what has happened is, and should be a serious concern, is that Modi's anti-Muslim, anti-Pakistan rhetoric, actions, repressions, attacks have, if not exactly destroyed the peace lobby, at least have made them silent. It is difficult to advocate peace in this country with an India that is continuously on a war path and now has said that he wants to destroy Pakistan in more ways than one, not just kinetically, but also through water. So And of course, it will be much longer. My speech has already gone on for too long. Issue of what is happening in occupied Kashmir and how the Israeli tactic of destroying homes is now visible on our screens. The tactic of mass arrest is very much visible on our screens. Deportations, which we have never seen on the scale that we are seeing now, are visible on our screens in occupied Kashmir. So the case of human rights and the case of repression has once again arisen. And again, Pakistan has this challenge to deal with it and go on a diplomatic offensive forthwith. Finally, the details of water, I think, again, there are better experts who can speak on the subject. But the water challenge that has arisen after this comical inabeyance of Indus Waters Treaty, I mean, the word doesn't exist in the treaty itself, cannot be held in abeyance. But India has gone ahead. And so what is going on there? I mean, if I remember my old history, Thucydides, who said, you know, they will at that time in ancient Greece, the strong will take what they want and the weak will suffer. Will we suffer? India is going ahead with it. And although in the short term, we may not suffer much, because currently India doesn't have the ability or what you call live storage capability to stop much of the water in our western rivers. But the water issue, if Indus Waters Treaty is held in abeyance permanently, is going to be with us for decades, and we better prepare for it. Because already, you know, the list of dams, Baglihar, Kishan Ganga, there's so many of them that are there, is that sooner rather than later, India will have the capacity, first of all, to at least stop Pakistan's water for at least 1 month. They could get that capacity, increase that capacity in years to come. So it's something that I think rightly the National Security Committee took the most serious notice of and said it's going to be an act of war. Although, of course, we still have to see how that's going to work out in practice. Finally, we are told that our eastern neighbor is trying very hard to find a limited initiative which wouldn't sort of invite retribution from Pakistan and somehow satisfy its political, crowd baying for Pakistan's blood. Ladies and gentlemen, when there are two nuclear powers involved, limited does not remain limited. That's the lesson of history. So we should be very aware of it. It's a very serious standoff that we are in. And in this chaotic world, and after a US withdrawal from Afghanistan, no country has really stepped forward. We welcome Iran's initiative that they are undertaking, but no world powers has really stepped forward to say, we are going to resolve this. So lots of telephone calls, I hope behind the scenes, of which I'm not aware of, some effort is going on to diffuse this standoff, which we all fervently hope and pray will not turn into a conflict. Because when nuclear powers are involved, I repeat, limited does not remain limited very long. So we should all be very worried. Finally, I've been a veteran of Indian parliamentary friendship groups. I was one of the peace lobby people. And something I used to say has now come back, and actually someone has written an article on it, so I was quite amused, is a line from Robert Frost, the poet, the American poet. And he says, good fences make good neighbors. That is apparently an eternal truth. So the long-term future of Pakistan and India, if we are to be at peace and achieve the connectivity that this conference is discussing, is our ability through our diplomacy and, of course, our capability to defend ourselves and our capability to, I hope, convince our world partners, international partners, is to be able to mend our fences and have good fences so that we can, I still hope, despite all the tension that we have seen, that Pakistan and India can become good neighbors. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Pakistan Zindabad.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dastagir, for a very enlightening keynote address. It has somewhat, has become a de rigueur in Pakistan to think or to say, we keep on saying, that perhaps all our problems or problems between Pakistan and India started with Prime Minister Modi. You all understand this is not the case. Pakistan and India are in conflict or in a hostile relationship since 1948. We fought wars in 1948, in 1965, in 1971, then the Kargil conflict, and then the Indian Parliament on 22nd of February 1994 adopted a resolution talking about taking back Azad Jammu and Kashmir. So there are many things which are, pre-Modi. The Indian side would always claim that it is the Pakistan side which is the primary impediment to peace, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to Lahore to attend the wedding ceremony of one of our leaders. Then Pathankot happened, then Uri attack happened, and then Pulwama happened, and then now the Pahalgam happened. So India also has its own narrative, especially when in the context of terrorism, cross-border terrorism. Whereas I have no doubt that the foremost impediment in Pakistan-India relations remains the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. And we have to, unless it is addressed, there is simply no possibility that the two countries will ever be embarked on a normal relationship. But I think when we are talking about impediments, we also need to take into account the Indian perspective. Only then will we be perhaps able to come up with plausible solutions or recommendations to our policymakers. Because in germinating, repeating the same thing would perhaps not do much even in the current context. So as I said, Kashmir is the dispute between our two countries, and it remains a conundrum as to how to settle it. Because I remember in 2015, I had an informal, long discussion with Mr. Ajit Doval, the incumbent National Security Advisor. At one point, I asked him informally, there were no takers. What about reverting to the President Musharraf's 4-point formula? So he would give me a smirk, and would say that, Mr. High Commissioner, don't talk about those things now. Let's think, something new about Jammu and Kashmir. So I would still, I'm still kind of, I was grappling with that idea since then as to what new could be thought of in the context of settling the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. So then came 5th August 2019, as the minister very rightly pointed out, it annexed, and the Kashmir equation has become far more complicated today. Now that India has made constitutional amendments, And I do not see how any successive government or governments, 10 years down the road or 20 years down the road could fiddle with the Constitution again or take these amendments back. So we are in a kind of, in a cleft stick. And we do, at least I do not know as to how we can get out of this situation. But our next speaker is Mr. Hamid who needs no introduction. And he has been dealing with Pakistan-India relations. And I also have the privilege of hosting him in New Delhi when he came there for a conference. So he would give his thoughts on the Kashmir conundrum, a never-ending conflict. Perhaps this is the time to end this conflict. Over to you, Mr. Hamid Mir.
Thank you very much for inviting me here. And first of all, I must apologize because like Arfa Noor, I have to leave on time because both Arfa and I have to go back to our offices and do work. We do work in the evenings. So that is the problem. And Ambassador Basit said that the core issue is the Kashmir. This is his opinion. I don't agree with him very respectfully. Why I don't agree? I will give you my opinion, which is based on my interactions, as he said, that few years back, he also hosted me when I was invited in a peace conference in Delhi. So I have been to these conferences, not only in Delhi, but also in Islamabad, in Bangkok. And my most recent interaction with the Indians took place last week in Harvard University. And there, for the whole day, we were talking to each other, how can we bring peace between India and Pakistan? So that's why, you see, the problem is not Kashmir, the problem is Pakistan. Pakistan is the problem. Unfortunately, like it or not, they have not accepted the reality of Pakistan. And this is not my first experience, which I mentioned last week in the Harvard. One very prominent Indian-American scholar, he said, you will not quote me, and if you will quote me, I will contradict. But let me tell you, we can have peace if we finish the borders between India and Pakistan. So this is their ideology. When you will go to Delhi, in the seminars, in track to diplomacy interactions, they will ask you, let's come up with an out-of-box solution of Kashmir. So you will come out with an out-of-box solution for Kashmir. Like Mr. Pervez Musharraf presented an out-of-box solution on Kashmir. So they will discuss with you, they will engage you in discussions, but in the evening, you will have a dinner with them, and after the dinner, when you will have some green tea or something else with them, so they will say, oh, Mr. Mir, there is only one solution. Let's finish these borders. The wall of the blood between India and Pakistan. So you see, this is their original problem. Original problem is not Kashmir. Kashmir is only K in Pakistan. 1K. The whole Pakistan is the problem. We have tested all kinds of track 2 diplomacy, track 1 diplomacy. You have tested many agreements, bilateral agreements, ceasefire agreements, everything. But you see, when Pervez Musharraf started talking to Indians through track 2 and then directly engaged Mr. Vajpayee, I think 2 months before the 9/11, in July 2001, he visited India and had talks with Mr. Vajpayee in Agra and Delhi. So I was also there as a journalist, and we got an opportunity to interact with them. And at that time, there was an atmosphere of peace, not only in India, but also in Pakistan. And everyone was very seriously thinking about peace between the two countries. Even then, privately they were telling us. I remember that the then government, not Foreign Office, the then government of Pervez Musharraf, they organized a visit of Pakistani journalists to the RSS headquarters in Delhi. You see, very few people remember now that myself and 7-8 other Pakistani journalists, including Mr. Hamid Haroon and Naseem Zara, all of them, we were asked to visit the RSS headquarters. So some of them, one of them from us asked question to the then Foreign Office officials that will they treat us politely, friendly, because they are RSS. They don't like Muslims. They hate us. So they said this is part of the larger plan. The Indian government is on board. So you will go there, and then the Indians will come to Pakistan, and we will arrange their visits to the religious madrasas in Akoda Khatak and in Karachi and in Lahore. So you see, they were very serious in those days. But then what happened? I met Syed Ali Gilani in Delhi. On one side, there was a diplomacy going on between India and Pakistan. And on the other side, I thought about the Kashmiris. I thought I must talk to Syed Ali Gilani. Why he is missing? He is not invited anywhere. So I went to see Mr. Ali Gilani. He's not alive now, passed away 2 years back. So Ali Gilani Sahab told me, just ask them, do you accept Pakistan as a reality? Whenever you talk to them, talk about Akhand Bharat, the concept of Greater India. So when I tested this tip given to me by Mr. Ali Gilani, you see almost every Indian, whether he was from the Congress or BJP or he was a journalist, everyone said, yes, the Akhand Bharat is the ultimate solution of the problem. We can have peace. And you know what is the Akhand Bharat, Greater India concept? They want annexation of not only Pakistan, they want annexation of Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Burma, Maldives, Bhutan, the whole South Asia, including Afghanistan. And now what they have done, they have placed the map of Akhand Bharat, the map of Greater India, in which they have shown Pakistan, Bangladesh, and 7-8 other countries from South Asia as part of their Akhand Bharat territory. They have placed that map on a wall in the Indian Parliament. So it's no more a secret. It's no more a secret. That's why, Ambassador Saab, I very respectfully disagreed with you. The problem is not Kashmir. The problem is Pakistan. The problem is Bangladesh. Problem is Afghanistan. Problem is Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan. They want the annexation of the whole South Asia. They want to create a one country in the name of Akhand Bharat. This is their problem. So what should we do? The subject of your conference is Pathways to Peace and Prosperity. So this is whatever I said, I have said on the basis of my interactions, my experiences with them. I was part of the peace lobby like Khurram Dastagir Khan Sahab, and we tried our level best to come to an agreement with them. Our governments tried their level best, and Khurram Dastagir Khan Sahab was very careful in his talk, and he said, I don't know why Abhinandan was returned back to India in haste. So I remember unseen, okay, the briefing in which you were informed that Pakistan has decided to return Abhinandan back to India. In that briefing, I think the then Prime Minister was not present. And who was present? Who was present? General Qamar Javed Bajwa. So this is another problem that the India policy in Pakistan is always formulated by the army, not by respectable politicians like Khurram Dastagir Khan Saab, Nawaz Sharif Saab, Imran Khan Saab. So they don't make our India policy. And then there is another problem that when there is a change in the command, there is a change in the policy. When General Qamar Javed Bajwa was in power, so he used to tell us privately in closed door meetings. So, you know, I have engaged Modi. My messenger is talking to Ajit Doval. Modi is coming to Pakistan for 4 days. And you see, there will be peace in this whole region. So we said, it's okay. So who will receive Modi? He said he will come, he will land at Karachi airport and then he will go to Hanglaj Mata Mandir in Balochistan. So I asked, who will receive him? He said, the Prime Minister will receive him. So, okay. So then I checked from the Foreign Minister, Shah Mahmood Qureshi. So I said, will you accompany Prime Minister to receive Modi on Karachi airport? He said, what are you talking? We don't know anything. So they were not aware about that. Then Shah Mahmood Qureshi checked from the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister was not aware. Now the policy is entirely different. So the current policy, because of the current situation, is acceptable to a lot of Pakistanis, but that policy in 2019 and 2021 was not acceptable. And even Khurram Dastagir Khan Sahab will agree with me that many times it happened that some decision was taken by some very powerful person and the political government was not on board. What is the solution? The solution is that we must follow the Constitution of Pakistan. There is a solution in the Constitution of Pakistan. There is solution of every problem. Pakistan is facing many problems today, political, strategic problems, economic problems, constitutional problems. 1973 Constitution have all the solutions, Even the Kashmir dispute have the solution in Article 257. We don't follow that. We always try to run after some out-of-the-box solution, which is always in the violation of the Article 257. Because Article 257 says that you will have to resolve this issue according to UN resolutions. So publicly we say something, publicly we say, oh, the solution of Kashmir lies in the UN resolutions. But privately in closed door meetings, we don't follow our constitution. We have tested, Mr. Ajit Doval, you also mentioned that you interacted with Mr. Ajit Doval. The interaction with Mr. Ajit Doval was started in 2015. The then National Security Advisor, General Nasir Khan Janjua, he had a meeting with him just few days before Modi's visit to Lahore. You mentioned about the Lahore visit. So General Nasir Janjua met him in Bangkok. And after a few days, we were told that there is a surprise visit. It was not surprised. It was an organized visit because everything was discussed in a meeting between General Nasir Janjua and Ajit Doval in the first week of December 2015. And after a few days, he came to Pakistan. Then again, the same Ajit Doval was engaged by General Faiz when Imran Khan was Prime Minister and General Qamar Javed Bajwa was the army chief. He was again engaged. Again, many things were discussed between Pakistan and India. We always talk about what happened in Uri, what happened in Pulwama, what happened in Mumbai. We condemn all kinds of terrorism. But what happened in Pakistan? Right from late 90s, you see the Chinese engineers and Chinese citizens are being targeted in different cities of Pakistan. Who is targeting them? Who is targeting them? It is India. So we don't talk about this thing. So in 2021, I was banned by the then government. And there was a ceasefire agreement between Pakistan and India. And the Indians contacted me. I was banned. There was ban on me in Pakistani media. So the Indians contacted me through a diplomat belonging to a European country. And they said, you should help Pakistan and India for bringing peace in this region. I said, how can I help? I am banned. They said, ban will be lifted. Now, who is offering me that ban will be lifted in Pakistan? Indians. What is the offer? That you and one Indian journalist, female journalist, you both of two Pakistani, one Indian journalist will first interview the Indian Prime Minister. And then both of you will interview the Pakistani Prime Minister. And then both Prime Ministers will go to Dubai, and both you, Pakistani, and one Indian journalist will interview both the Prime Ministers together. And there will be peace in Pakistan and India. I said, what about Kashmir? They said, forget about Kashmir. So I said, who will lift ban from me? They said, go back to Pakistan, because the meeting was taking place outside Pakistan. So go back to Pakistan, they will contact you. I came back to Pakistan and they contacted me and they said, have you agreed? I said, what kind of diplomacy is this? Why you want to use my face? There are other journalists in Pakistan. So you see, this is why I am, this is not the first time that I am telling you this fact. I have said it before. You see, you have to discuss this issue, the Kashmir problem, the water problem, everything in the elected parliament of Pakistan. Parliament is the best forum. This track to diplomacy, I don't believe it now, because the secret diplomacy will not succeed, because the track to diplomacy is, I think, actually deceiving the people of Pakistan. So you should not deceive the people of Pakistan. Whatever you want to do with India should be discussed first in the parliament of Pakistan, and then you can implement that. I know that many people will not agree with me, but I think that unless there is Modi in India and Ajit Doval is his national security advisor, you cannot have peace with India. Ultimately, after 15 years, 20 years, ultimately, the ultimate solution is the soft borders. Okay? The soft borders between India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh. The soft border is the ultimate solution. But right now, if you think that there will be an out-of-box solution on Kashmir in the violation of Article 257 of the Constitution of Pakistan, it is not possible, because it is the betrayal to the people of Pakistan, betrayal to the people of Kashmir, and it is the violation of the Constitution of Pakistan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamid Mir, and also thank you for not differing with me, no issue. But I still strongly believe that Jammu and Kashmir is the dispute between Pakistan and India. And I also strongly feel we can always, use Akhand Bharat or these terms for propaganda's sake, but in my well-considered view, India is not after creating Akhand Bharat. It has its own many problems, from Manipur to Nagaland, and even in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. So Akhand Bharat would be too destructive an idea for even Akhand Bharat. So that I do not see as to how India can even think of going down that route or longing for this kind of an idea, because that would be suicidal for Hindutva, so to say. Jammu and Kashmir is still a dispute, and as you very rightly pointed out, that perhaps track 2 may not work, but there are people in Pakistan and people in India who strongly feel that since there is no official channel of communications between the two countries, perhaps it is time to give track 2 diplomacy a chance. It is very much possible that even as we are speaking, 2 NSAs may be in touch with each other, working out some kind of a face saver for India as well as for Pakistan. We do not know, because diplomacy works in bizarre ways. And as I see around, I do see some openings between the 2 NSAs. I may be totally wrong, but it is possible, and I do not rule out that. But talking about track 2 diplomacy, I have not been a very kind of admirer of this track 2 diplomacy, because the nature of bilateral issues is such that we end up repeating our respective policies even in track 2 diplomacy. But in any case, there are people both in Pakistan and India who attach importance to this diplomacy, track 2 diplomacy as well. Senator Javed Jabbar Saab, he has been involved in track 2 diplomacy. So let's listen to him as to what he has to offer, whether track 2 diplomacy can really make a difference, can really come up with solutions to our current impasse. Thank you very much.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, Excellency Abdul Basit Saab, one of Pakistan's most distinguished diplomats. It's a privilege to be in a panel which you are chairing, as it is a privilege to share the stage with 3 speakers who have been most individualistic in their respective perceptions and presentations. Arifa Noor chose to be unduly brief. And for a woman presenter who is one of the finest and threatened to leave, fortunately, she's still sitting here, as is Mr. Hamid Mir, who also opened with a threat to leave, but is still here. And I have a feeling, while I am going to inflict some unprecious thoughts on you, both of them will walk out as a sign of their total disagreement with me. But we will still have the Honorable former Foreign Minister, Mr. Khurram Dastagir, who also presented, I think, an unusually candid set of observations. He was discreet enough not to name the particular political party which was in office when certain events occurred and certain omissions took place in our policy. That's understandable. And in contrast, Mr. Hamid Mir was most unusually candid, which is so refreshing. It is very necessary to name the elephant in the room, which is the military in Pakistan. The military in India also exerts an extraordinary influence, despite the fact that they have not intervened in the political sphere, which is very commendable of India not to let the military intervene. But a militaristic mindset pervades Indian foreign policy making. And no decision on India's deployment of troops or India's opening up to Pakistan or China can ever take place without the consent of the Indian military.
The Indian military has sometimes vetoed decisions that were taken by civil foreign ministers of both countries. And alas, when those civil foreign ministers went back, particularly the Indian one, the Indian military vetoed that, whether it was Siachen or whether it was a rapprochement on Kashmir. May I just begin by saying, with respect, Track 2 is not a betrayal of the people or the peoples between whom Track 2 takes place. Each participant of a Track 2 process is a loyal, dedicated, committed, if I want to use the word patriotic, it might sound overextending one's sense of loyalty. Every citizen who participates in Track 2 is a committed nationalist. And there is no intent to betray the people's interest or the national interest by simply participating in Track 2. The idea of Track 2 was born in 1982, this phrase by a US State Department officer called Joseph Montville, who wanted to give a concrete expression to the hard fact that apart from diplomatic interaction, interactions already were taking place between non-officials. So he thought about this and he formulated the term Track 2. In fact, before he formulated the term, the Dartmouth Conference between the US and the Soviet Union was using Track 2 to prevent their relationship from approaching a crisis point. And soon after, well, not soon after, perhaps a decade and a half later, the Oslo process, steered by Norway and steered in order to promote the prospects of peace in the Middle East between Israel and the Palestinian movement, took place. My own humble association with Track 2 started in 1992, early 1992, and lasted for about 23 years until, with the advent of the BJP government, it was stalled by the Indians. Otherwise, it remained in place for 22 plus years. And it was not secret, it was not back channel. Both governments knew what was happening. They had to issue visas. How would they not know? And after the first 2.5 years, when the Ford Foundation and the Americans sponsored the costs, both groups decided we can afford to bear the costs ourselves. Why should we be dependent on the Americans or any foreign country to bring us together? So the funding became indigenous, and in place of a very competent American diplomat called Paul Kreisberg, we had Mr. Niaz Naik, an extremely accomplished former foreign secretary from Pakistan, and Mr. C. Rasgotra from India, also a former Indian foreign secretary, as the two co-chairs. And this process, when you look back on it, despite the sabotage by the BJP of even a Track 2 process, soon after it came into power, managed to survive the popular uprising in Indian-occupied Kashmir in the early 90s. In fact, Track 2 addressed that. It managed to survive the Kargil crisis. It managed to survive the nuclear crisis of 1998. It managed to survive the terror attack on Bombay in 2008. It went on even after that. Earlier, it also survived the attack on the Indian Parliament, which was another false flag operation in which Pakistan had not played any part. December 2001, I think was the date. So, Track 2 between Pakistan and India actually was sustained. Both groups used to meet the respective foreign ministries before each round receive a briefing. The groups comprised individual, independent citizens of stature, excluding myself, I had no stature, but we had outstanding economists, academics, former generals, nuclear experts, national security analysts, a whole spectrum of 8 or 10 people from each side. And we were agreed that we would not talk to the media, not in order to bypass parliament, not in order to bypass governments, but you simply cannot discuss hypersensitive issues under the glare of media, because media's job is to second guess. If someone is saying A, media has a natural tendency to say, why not B? And they're entitled to that. But that doesn't make for negotiation or listening to each other with patience, which is what Track 2 is all about. Listening to each other without making accusations or raising suspicions about your sincerity or your integrity. And Track 2 actually managed to eventually expand and become a composite dialogue. It started with discussions on Kashmir and on the military-to-military problem, but expanded to include the nuclear issue. It went into depth in the economic realm. It talked about Kashmir frontally, but also creatively. And we then evolved the basis on which the 4-point formula was eventually adopted. And we wanted no credit. We didn't hold a single press conference for 22 years. But both foreign ministries knew exactly what had happened in each round, lasting 2 to 2.5 days, either in Islamabad or New Delhi, once in Lahore, once in Karachi. And as a result, one doesn't want to claim credit for it, but that 4-point formula, regardless of how the Indians unwisely want to sidetrack it today, represented good common sense. Allow me to paraphrase it or adapt it according to my recollections of what it was. The first one was dialogue, not just India-Pakistan dialogue, but a quartet dialogue. By a quartet, it meant India, Pakistan, and people from Indian-occupied Kashmir, and people from Azad Kashmir, who had always been bypassed. So the first thing was dialogue. In a comprehensive sense, listen to each other. The elected representatives of Indian-occupied Kashmir and of Azad Kashmir, along with India, Pakistan. And the second was devolution, authentic devolution of power from New Delhi to Srinagar and from Islamabad and Rawalpindi to Muzaffarabad. Because despite Azad Jammu and Kashmir being officially a separate state, its territory is not part of the Pakistan Constitution, unlike the Indians who made Kashmir part of the Indian Constitution. And the second was effective devolution of authority and power, which would also enable, for the first time, what we suggested was the trans-LOC bus. And we devised the method by which, instead of a visa, travelers could carry a simple, unheaded document which would enable them to cross into Indian-occupied Kashmir and vice versa. And the third was delineation. By delineation, we meant, let us agree when we say Jammu and Kashmir. What do we mean by Jammu and Kashmir when it comes to India-Pakistan? Are we including Ladakh? Are we including Gilgit and Baltistan? Are we including Jammu? Indians will say Gilgit-Baltistan has to be part of unresolved issues of Jammu and Kashmir, and Pakistan would not agree. They would say the same thing about Ladakh. So there has to be agreement on what are we talking about? What is the exact territory when we say Kashmir? What is Kashmir? Is it the valley where Muslims dominate? Or is it Jammu where there are plenty of non-Muslims? So there was a need for delineation. And the fourth was, once these three things take place and confidence increases as you keep talking to each other, listening to each other, graded demilitarization. Indian occupied Kashmir is the most militarized region in the entire world. When you compare the presence of 600,000 to 700,000 troops to the population, no other part of the world has just such a huge concentration of armed troops. We, for our part, do not have that dubious honor of concentrating all our troops into Azad Kashmir or to across the line of control. But there is a need for gradual confidence building by reducing the militarized component. Now more than ever in 2025, not because I'm looking for something better to do, paying enough attention to my dear wife is a full-time job, by the way, and I should be doing that rather than inflicting my thoughts on you here. But now more than ever is there a need for track 2. And Pakistan is ready for it, but plus the Indians, of course, they won't be ready for it. I mean, the behavior of the Indian mindset, which has been revealed, the pettiness is pathetic. For a state so large, it has a heart so tiny. I mean, it is a physical giant and a moral pygmy. And that's disrespectful of pygmies. Because what is the matter with India? Why is it so insecure? So inherently insecure. And that brings to mind an issue larger than India, which is the problem of asymmetry. And you know what asymmetry is? Disproportionately different sizes between immediately present or generally present other units. And we are living in a very bizarre age where 3 robust democracies are all suffering from asymmetry. The United States is a shining example of asymmetry. The only country in the whole world with 800 military bases encircling the planet. My God, talk about insecurity. Or shall we say hegemony. It has military bases in the Pacific. It has them in Diego Garcia, has them in Oman, hasn't left any part except Russia and China. And China, which is accused of having an expansionist vision, barely has a civil presence in a single port near Djibouti in Africa. Look at the asymmetry. Plus, the dominance of the US economy, the dominance of the dollar, all banking transactions of around the world, 60% to 70% have to be cleared every day in New York. Very unhealthy disproportion, which becomes a threat to all the other countries of the world. But the US is ably accompanied by India. My God, what an asymmetrical nation. If you compare it to South Asia's other nations, a disproportionately huge population, now overtaking China, territory, 7, 8 times that of Pakistan, leave alone Maldives or Sri Lanka, a huge coastline, and even encompassing islands like the Nicobar and Andaman Islands, which are really part of Southeast Asia, arbitrarily allotted to the new India post 1947 by the departing British. A travesty which has given India a totally unhealthy appetite for maritime hegemony and expanding its maritime fleet into what they call the Indian Ocean. I think we should call it the Asian Ocean. So the asymmetry of India is best evidenced by what Hamid Mir has already told you. I mean, the sheer arrogance of building a new parliament building in New Delhi and of creating a map which has the brazen effrontery to include the territory of 7 other member states of the United Nations. And I haven't heard a word of condemnation on this travesty of international law and norms and etiquette from any Western power or any Southeast Asian power, which brings me to this terrible obsession about India's size and India's market. Oh, they're so big. They matter a great deal. I mean, what is this Indian phobia that people have developed? The inability to say what needs to be said and to point out whether it's the world's most powerful country or the world's middling power. The truth must be told. And the third is also a democracy, but there is a negative symmetry there, a negative asymmetry. And the example is Israel. Israel, total population, 9.6 million people. 9.6 million people. 7.5 million Jews, the rest non-Jews. 9.5 million people in Israel. Pulverizing 450 million Arabs. My God. How has this country, even if Uncle Sam and Auntie Sally and everyone has been helping Israel, you've got to give it to them. Zionism has galvanized this very, very small population to develop the extraordinary intelligence, commitment, capability to paralyze 450 million Arabs and 22 countries. And they are wreaking this barbarity on Gaza every day. And certain Arab countries are busy chasing free market capitalism. So much investment, so much tourism, women being liberated as if they're doing women a favor. What's the favor? They've kept them under bondage for centuries. They relate to them. So how does Pakistan face this? And I come to the last part. How does Pakistan deal with this? First of all, I think we have to realize, and it does need to be realized, we know that there's nothing we can do about India. Even if the BJP loses the next election, the Hindutva disease, the virus of Hindutva has already infected the Indian psyche. Even though BJP got only 38% of the popular vote in the last election, and it reduced the number of seats because of our absurd first-past-the-post system, where you may not get the majority vote and yet you get a majority of the seats. So they're back in power on the third time. But even if BJP is not there, there are elements of the Hindutva psyche in the Congress party and in the non-BJP parties. And now it has become so widely spread through social media and the hysteria of Indian news media that post BJP, we will still have a very adversarial, latently hostile neighbor to deal with. So, should we get obsessed with it? No. Much as it may be difficult to do, we have to do a fundamental paradigm shift. It'll take 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. But we have to disentangle ourselves from this obsession with India and start to build and get to know China much better than we do. We are still too Western-oriented and West-obsessed. Children want to go to US universities or go to London, speak English. How many Pakistanis speak Chinese? The one country that has stood with us loyally, consistently for all its existence. Never wavered. We don't even speak Chinese. We know so little about China. What a tragedy and an irony. We have to get to know China, get to know the people of China, get over our inhibitions about learning Chinese, or even if you don't learn Chinese, get to know their literature, their culture, their history, their poetry, their aspirations, and what a merit-based society China is. President Xi Jinping, son of a major leader of the Communist Party, when he applied for membership to the Communist Youth League, his application was rejected. Sorry, you don't come up to the level. He made not one, he made 8 attempts and failed. That's how merit-focused the whole system of China is. Merit alone. And he was allowed to become a member after 9 attempts and rose to become head of state, purely on individual ability, not because his father was a leader at one time. So we have to go beyond this region, become more Central Asia specific. An excellent session before this session. We got to know so much about Central Asia's potential and West Asia's potential, which we have not really tapped. Asper Ehsan was, of course, more focused on the Middle East, but he also referred to the vast potential that exists, and not just economic. We have to rediscover our cultural affinities with these countries, and not just on the religious side. Culture is not just religion. Culture is about how you live. What makes you sing, what makes you dance, what makes you admire something. So the cultural reorientation of Pakistan into transcending the limitations of South Asia and looking into a new vision. Will that be enough? I don't think so. Because internally, we have a great agenda to resolve. Some of those issues have already been identified. I won't repeat them. One central issue is the need to strengthen the civil political segment of Pakistani society. We don't want to weaken the military. We cannot afford to weaken the military. The military itself will not agree to be weakened. Even though General Bajwa 3 years ago announced publicly at the Islamabad Markala dialogue, security dialogue, that they have a plan to reduce the numeracy of Pakistan's armed forces by 400,000 people. A remarkable statement, but nothing has been heard about it since. So we need to strengthen the political parties, none of which take the time and the trouble to focus on security issues. They keep ceding space to the military. You come and handle it because you will do it better, which is shameful. I think the political parties of Pakistan need to do much more homework, study much more, publish more regularly, doctrines, study papers, research papers. What is happening to artificial intelligence? How will it impact defense and security and the economy? So much to do. And we have the talent, we have the capacity. Pakistan is enormously gifted. We underestimate ourselves. We are constantly demeaning ourselves and saying, oh, the country is going nowhere and some youth are migrating. Oh, you should look at the number of youth from India who are migrating out of India. If India is supposed to be the great success story, why are thousands and thousands of Indians abandoning their wives and running off to Europe and America and never coming back? Read the New York Times of 7 months ago. They did a detailed survey of thousands of innocent, newly married women abandoned by Indian men who ran away with their dowry and have disappeared. So migration should not bother us. We need to learn from our strengths. We are an extraordinary nation, the most uniquely created country, and we should look at a new world with greater confidence. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much, Senator Jabbar, for your very interesting and enlightening thoughts and views. Let me,
Sorry, I don't want to test your patience, but I did not mention that at this present time, one believes that three things have to be initiated. One, actually secret back channel diplomacy, about which no one should be told anything except the prime ministers and the one person chosen to represent them, and they meet somewhere else and start listening to each other. Number one. Number two, third-party facilitation by the UN or by friendly countries, be it China, be it Europe, the European Union, or anywhere. Third-party facilitation, because the Indians don't want mediation. And the third, the resumption of any kind of multi-track contact outside India, Pakistan, using connectivity of social media and global media. Sorry to intrude, sorry to add that.
Not at all. Thank you very much, sir. Three questions, two for Minister Dastagir and one for Senator Jabbar. So two questions which I have, got from the audience. Why Pakistan has not been able to expose India's involvement in several terror actions in Pakistan. Most recently, Jafar Express blast occurred, in which more than 20 people were killed. So why Pakistan moves episodically? Why invest in the stars? Why don't we have a clear understanding of India's involvement in Pakistan, in terrorism? Why Pakistan has not been able to build this narrative against India? And second question is that given the present situation, would it be advisable for Pakistan to preemptively strike India?
Thank you very much. First of all, why we have not been able to? This is a question actually put to the audience. It's because perhaps we are yet to develop that capacity and this nebulous term I'm going to use, inner confidence, to go all out in the world. We certainly have the human resource, qualified human resource, who could craft that narrative using the latest platforms on social media. But it remains a question of why successive governments, including this one after Jafar Express, deemed not to blame India directly and name India directly. And that is as I said in my short intervention also, is because the political parties are now demanding that this be done. So the reasons for not being able to do this are multiple. But I think now we have the opportunity to remedy that space that we previously have left and fill that. Second question, I personally don't agree with the preemptive strike. But we are prepared, as you have all heard repeatedly, for any eventuality. Pakistan, of course, abides by the, we have said repeatedly that we will not agree to no first use doctrine of nuclear strikes. We maintain that option, but short of that, I believe that we will be very, very careful, and that's why I will emphasize again, that any kinetic action between two nuclear powers has this very serious potential of not remaining limited to conventional warfare, and therefore Pakistan should not strike preemptively.
Thank you very much, sir. Senator Jabbar, there is a question from the audience that can we expect a fair settlement of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute? The way Pakistan is, you also mentioned in your remarks that we have a kind of civil military imbalance. So, if political instability continues in Pakistan, do you expect to deal with India and to work out a just and fair settlement of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute?
Thank you. At any time when Pakistan's integrity of its sovereignty and its territorial area is threatened, there is a refreshing rush towards unanimity, which is excellent, very good. That's one of the positive sides of being a Pakistani person, that no one wants to linger with their differences. But that is not enough. It is certainly not enough. We are in deep trouble internally, not just the civil military issue. We ignore or we do not give enough priority to the population dimension. As far as and rightly referred to the number of school children, children who are out of school, and that's going to grow staggeringly over the next decades, even though our fertility rate has declined over the last 3 decades, but we are still way beyond what we should be. So we are not addressing the population issue as urgently as we should. Our internal governance issues of restructuring the federation, we are not willing to touch. It's like a holy cow. Internally, we are very asymmetrical. We have one province with more population than all the other 3, and we have one province with more territory than all the other 3. So it's a very bizarre internal asymmetry that we need to address to ensure that people have access to justice and resources and restructure our democracy, our institutions. They are totally non-representative. People, 50% of the people don't vote. And out of the 50% who vote, the winner gets barely 10 or 15% and has a license to reign for 5 years, as it happens in India and Britain. And this is an outmoded model. We need to reform the electoral process. So, in the immediate instance, I do not see any progress on Kashmir. Only when we become a stronger country internally will we have the clout and the credibility to engage effectively with India. And India's hegemonistic posture must be deterred and checked. And Pakistan is the only country in South Asia that has the will, the capacity, the courage to thumb its nose at Indian hegemony. And that must continue. We cannot afford to give that up. which should not make us into an aggressive military power. We should be vigilant about our security, but we must develop the other facets of our personality and let the people's energy and vitality, which is so abundant, be reflected in our economy. I end with one example. Our official economy is down there, 385 billion GNP, and we're not rated very highly, even though if you include the parallel and the black economy, it's probably $1 trillion. But in the gig economy, which is the online economy, Pakistan's gig economy makes it the 4th largest in the whole world. We are only generating about $350 million. And that is also an underestimation. But that shows the incredible potential of the Pakistani people working from home, not going to an office 9 to 5, and generating hundreds of millions of dollars, and their rating is higher. And lastly, in the World Happiness Index, congratulations, Ambassador, Pakistanis are happier people than the people of India, people of Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Malaysia. We are happier people. Allah khair karega, Allah khair karega. We have this abundant sense of optimism. So let's not succumb to this gloom and doom.
Thank you very much. So now we come to the end of this session. Let me sum up. Most of the speakers, we still believe that Pakistan-India relations are a complex relationship. And as far as I think, the Jammu and Kashmir is the dispute between our two countries. Unless this is resolved, in my personal view, and having experienced the Indian, the way they think, the way they deal with Pakistan, I have no doubt that the Jammu and Kashmir dispute must be resolved. How it could be resolved? We need to build pressure on India. How to build pressure on India? There are different ways and means. I totally agree with Ambassador Javed Jabbar Sahab that this is not really the time for a formal structured dialogue between our two countries. And this is a time to have a back-channeled diplomacy. And I do not know, as I said earlier, perhaps two NSAs are in touch with each other or in contact with each other already. But this is a time to work silently because these complex issues cannot be discussed in public or in the public domain. Once we have some kind of, modus vivendi, only then can things be brought to fore. So at this point in time, Pakistan and India, we both need to engage on the back channel. Whether it is possible, I would not know, but given the nature of the present conflict, it appears to be kind of a difficult proposition. But once these tensions are off, if sanity prevails, and I hope that it prevails sooner rather than the later, we may have an opportunity to have some kind of a bilateral engagement. There are many other things that Pakistan can do in order to build some pressure on India to discuss seriously the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. There are two steps we can take internally in Pakistan in the context of the interim 1974 Azad Jammu and Kashmir interim constitution, especially in the context of Article 2 and Article 11 of the Kashmir Constitution. it would be a good step forward that while we are trying to build some pressure on India, we take some steps just for the sake of optics to move according to the template which was developed by the United Nations Security Council since 1948 through 1957 by adopting several resolutions on Jammu and Kashmir. So that is one way of doing things. But overall, I think we have not been able to build a strong narrative because as I look at it, we have many inconsistencies. We have been changing our stance on Jammu and Kashmir even in public. That I think we need to dispense with this kind of practice in our diplomacy, because this only creates more confusion and engender, this leads to losing credibility internationally. So we need to be more careful and try, and because narrative, is not built in a vacuum. Narrative is a difficult thing to build. It's a process, as I said earlier, and one has to be absolutely clear as to what our long-term objectives are. So track 2 diplomacy, Javed Jabbar Saab is available, and I'm sure many in India are also available to meet each other. But I think this is not the time for track 2 diplomacy, because that would only engender more confusion. But at present, the foremost priority at this stage obviously is as to how to bring an end to the present crisis, whether it is quid pro quo plus or it is strikes along the LOC or across the LOC. We do not know yet, but I would agree with Minister Dastagir that Pakistan has no intention to strike India preemptively, because that would not serve our interests. We do want peace with India. We do want resolution to all our problems, including Kashmir and terrorism, because that is in our long-term interest. And connectivity, I totally agree with Ambassador Jabbar that it is time to refocus ourselves rather than to be fixated on India, because India is moving to develop sub-regional mechanisms, regional mechanisms like BBN or BIMSTEC. So it is time for Pakistan to look west and see as to how we can inject some verve and vitality into ECO or other initiatives. How to reach out to Central Asia, how to fix our relations with Afghanistan, because, as it is said in Japan, that don't fix the blame, fix the problem. So we need to fix the problem, especially with Afghanistan. Now that we have another opening vis-a-vis Bangladesh, so that gives us another opportunity. Though I'm not saying that SAARC can be revived anytime soon. It has become moribund, it has become dysfunctional. So let's forget about SAARC, for now at least. Focus more on our West, Afghanistan, Central Asian countries, and also try to inject more substance into our bilateral relations. And that would help us to then create some regional cooperative frameworks. So we have end this session, and thank you very much for your patience. And reasonably well, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, esteemed panelists and the chair. I would like to request President of IRS, Ambassador Johar Salim, to please come to stage to deliver a vote of thanks and closing remarks.
a splendid session of informed discussion, very ably steered by Ambassador Abdul Basit. And then we have the words of wisdom from Senator Javed Jabbar. The usual eloquence and clarity of thoughts by former Foreign Minister and former Defense Minister Khurram Dastagir, the unique perspective that Hamid Mir always brings, and the succinct common sense by Arifa Noor. So great session. I'd like to thank all the panelists and the chair of the session, Ambassador Abdul Basit, for making the time and sharing your thoughts and enabling such an intense discussion. By the way, when we planned this conference, at that point, that was like 2 or 3 months ago. So there was nothing of the present crisis, but as it happens, these turbulent times, it seems to have just coincided with that. But all I can say is the turbulent times have become even more turbulent for Pakistan. With these words, I'd like to thank all the panelists and the chair, and request you all to join me in a big hand of applause to show our thanks.
With your permission, I want to add one thing. Now that we are in a crisis situation, many things are happening. India is taking many steps which may become very difficult at some point in time in future to take those steps back. And I'm particularly referring to the Indus Waters Treaty. And here, I think from this session, it is important to convey this message that the Indus Waters Treaty is a matter of survival for Pakistan. India may not be able at this point in time to stop or reduce Pakistan's water, which is, around 133 million acre feet of water which we get annually from India. But in any, 5 years hence or 10 years hence, if India tries to build that infrastructure, which would stop or reduce the flow of our Western river water into Pakistan, that would create a situation which would be next to impossible to deal with. So my sincere advice to our Indian friends is not to go down that route. Don't play with fire.
Definitely, and we do plan to have a special session on that as well. And we'll invite you and other experts on that, of course, the panelists, because I think it is definitely a very important subject. And I think this, unfortunately, what I've seen is we don't have a clarity on that, because I've met a lot of experts. We have seen there have been experts on TV programs with me who have advanced one viewpoint, and there are other experts who are who have a different perspective. So I think we need to have a very clear assessment and a very objective assessment of where we stand on that. Thank you.
Now I request Session Chair and President Iris to present mementos to honorable panelists. Mr. Khurram Dastagir Khan, Senator Javed Jabbar, Salim will present memento to Ambassador Abdul Basit. Now I request all panelists to come forward for a group photo with the Team of India program. Iris, please come to the stage for the group photo.